Friday. Welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio. Surprise, we're all in studio. Justin Lynch, Lee Grossman, Tassos Kirkos, and Raven Gass are producing this one. How about you? They're making us work on a Friday.
Unbelievable. How they let us get to Friday yet again. The government is furious. But yeah, I mean, we got... That's right. obviously, Hawks game last night, didn't go the way we wanted, but, it's one of those losses that's a little more, easy to take when the kids are producing, right? The young guns are showing out like Bedsy, Nazar, more acceptable loss than a game like, Monday against the Flames, for example. Then big weekend for the Hawks, too. We got Vegas tomorrow. I'm sure that'll be a fun game, quite a matchup there. So, yeah, a lot to dig into today on this Friday. Questions as well. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got a
Lee, how we doing? Oh. Can you hear him? Yeah, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for Hawks Talk and our interview with Sean McMorrow. I think this is going to be a very fun episode.
Yeah, we're going to welcome on the sheriff, Sean McMorrow, tied for fourth all time in professional hockey fights. So basically what I'm saying is Lee could take this guy in a fight based off his Muay Thai classes.
Yep, I've taken Muay Thai classes for 3 months, so I think
How's that been going?
Like my chances against this guy. No, this dude has the record for the most fights in a year. He had 86 fights in 1 year.
86, the penalty minutes that season. What would that look like? Jeez.
Dude. So we've got an absolute legend coming on later. But
it should be fun.
Hawks. Whoa, now I'm loud in my headphones.
Yeah. I asked him to turn us up a bit here.
Hawks fall 3-2 in a shootout last night versus the Nashville Predators in what I said was the most entertaining game of the season despite the loss. Tassos, you were not on the show last night. Did you get to watch much of the game? Did you have anything that you needed to get off your chest about it? I know Justin and I talked about it for 30 minutes last night, but
I thought that the Hawks had a really good second period. I thought the shot differential at the end of the game borderline inexcusable. This is a team 15, that's at the time 5 points ahead of you in the standings. Not when you're in last place, 5 points ahead of you isn't really impressive. This was a Nashville team that we talked before. We talked on Wednesday that like this was a group that had such higher expectations going in there. Maybe it was warranted, maybe it wasn't, but you certainly made them look like the division winners that people pegged them to be before the season last night. What was it, 42 shots?
41 to 26, 41. I think. So 15 shot difference there, 30th versus 32nd place team. So that's not ideal.
No. Yeah. And they won 39 faceoffs to our 23. So that also might have something to do with
keep getting killed with the draw. I'd be curious to see where the Hawks rank and think they got to be near the bottom in terms of faceoff win percentage this season.
Yeah, I mean we've got to be. We get it's like a problem every single game.
It's part of why we're outshot every night, right? Because we just don't have that possession compared to other teams because we keep losing an opening draw.
Yeah, our faceoff percentage is probably like in the low 40s.
Low 40s, maybe even high 30s. It's that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't love the shots. I mentioned it on my show this morning. Go check out Good Morning Hockey if you're looking for a little bit more hockey content in your mornings. That the Arvid Soderblom stat that he hasn't stopped a shootout shot in his entire career.
0 for 9.
That is one of the arguably like goofy NHL stats ever. Like that's so crazy to me. I don't know
what the record is for most amount of shots it took for a goalie to make his first shootout save. It's got to be approaching it. It's a shame too. I think Arvid had a fantastic game last night. Yeah. Well, there was a reason we were even in overtime shootout to begin with, right? But yeah, obviously he's clearly just one of those goalies. Like Robin Leonard, I think you brought up Robin Leonard last night. Like just some goalies for whatever reason they just struggle in the shootout. It seems clear to me that Soderblom's just one of those goalies. His breakaways just aren't his thing, I guess. The Preds kept pulling off that same like slow down move. It kind of seemed to fool him every time. So something's got to work on. But again, less shootouts today, so it's not as big a deal, I'd say, now as it would have been, 10 years ago.
Why is that a thing with some goalies? Like, it's kind of just like the yips. Like they just it's got to be all mental, I'd assume, because they're thinking about it or something. Because 0 for 9 is crazy.
And one of them was against, or two of them again, been against the Preds, because there was one last season too where he went 0 for 3 against them. I think like November last season. If I remember correctly, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's really strange. I'd be curious to hear from like a goaltender or something. Like
I mean, 0 for 9 is like
that's crazy. That's like there's obviously something there. Like there's something going on. It's not just like he's you can't just say he's not that good in shootouts. Like no, he hasn't saved one ever.
Yeah,
That's-
like you'd think one at least would just hit you in the pads.
Yeah,
or
hit
something.
the
Stop it
pads
by
or, like, hit the
accident.
post. Like,
Yeah,
that's
just standing in
crazy.
front of the puck. I don't know.
Yeah, you could just stand there and not move and probably go 1 for 9.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
I
you'd
think if I, yeah, never. I was just gonna say, I think if I played goalie, against NHLers, I'd be able to go 1 for 10.
I don't know.
No, there was that.
I don't think you could go 1 for 10
Delusion.
against me.
Dave Portnoy had that. It wasn't on the ice, so it was like more like kind of like floor hockey, floor ball thing. But for a while, Dave Portnoy was challenging NHL players and was like, he'd like play goalie. He had like little goalie pads, and he had like Matthews and Marner and like all these guys come and shoot on him, and he actually did really well. Like I think he saved more than he gave up.
Yeah,
So-
I bet you that's more for fun though. Like if it's an actual game, it's another thing, right? If you were like in an actual like NHL game, I'm sure they wouldn't be stopping anything.
Well, I guess I'd hope so, but no, I'm just kind of talking shit. But yeah, there's got to be something there. He just is not. He's not a shootout guy.
Which is fine. You
could
know what I
you-
mean? It's not like, the Stanley Cup is going to be decided in a
and there's
shootout.
less shootouts today than there have been because of the 3-on-3 overtime. I think there's every year is probably less and less. So yeah, not really as big of a deal now as in the past.
Would you be able to swap goalies in between overtime and shootout? Is there a rule?
I think you can.
I don't know if teams would do that very often.
we're
Maybe
just-
throwing a cold goaltender in
Because
there. I
like
don't
in
know.
soccer, there are goalies that are really good at saving penalty kicks.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of teams and like international teams would literally swap, like their backup goalies might be better than their starter at PKs. So they would literally substitute them out in extra time, like right before the penalty shootout.
Mrazek's pretty decent in shootouts, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it would be something if that wasn't a rule. The Hawks would maybe consider that in the future if Sodovic was a struggle in them. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so you can switch your goalie before the shootout starts from the guy that played regulation and overtime, but you cannot switch your goalie mid shootout.
Okay.
Okay.
When was the last time that's happened? I feel like we haven't really seen that much.
Oh gosh, you're just asking. Is this the pose hypotheticals that we don't have
Do
the
teams
answer
even
to?
know that's
show?
a rule? Have they read the rule books? I'm surprised nobody's tried that at some point. I'm sure Simon's not the only goalie who just has a rough run in these shootouts, but he's definitely, I don't know, my other goalies have a 0% there.
I understand like riding a guy who's played well, like, going into that shootout. Soderblom had an unbelievable game.
39 saves and
So like,
41
I understand wanting to ride a guy, but in a situation like this
Sus.
where this guy literally can't stop one, there needs to be a conversation had there. Like, are you trying to win? Because if you're trying to win, you should get this guy out. If he can't do it,
Yeah, I think it's a small sample size too. I mean, the Hawks, I think that was only the second shootout all season too. I think the one against the Kings in November, they won without Donato goal, but just they haven't really seen many shootouts this season. Simon hasn't been in many. They probably just wouldn't have thought about that, right? Yeah.
Okay, so so the thread of me finding that information out, the entire discussion is actually about Robin Leonard and how terrible he was.
Yeah,
at
I
shootouts,
remember. I
and they're
recall
like-
that. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like maybe they should switch him out of the shootout if they can. Interesting stat. Not quite sure what this is asking for, but Rick DiPietro's first appearance of the 2011-12 season was in relief for a shootout. He lost, so for a brief time, his stat line was 0-1 with no save percentage and no time on ice.
Stat of all time, ESPN stat.
That's probably why they don't do it, is because then, like if you took Soderblom out and put Mrazek in, and then they win in the shootout, Mrazek gets the win.
And that
right?
seems not fair. Yeah.
Again, asking questions. Well, yeah, I would assume.
But I would assume, and so Soda would have had a 42 saves.
No decision hockey game.
And that wouldn't make
Not
any
in the
sense because
decision.
shootouts tend to be an extra stat for players, but for a goalie to get the win in the shootout, like, and to get credited for that, even though he didn't play any regulation, that's kind of weird, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do a little Friday hypothetical?
Yeah.
Sure.
So in the double IHF, since you're wearing a Team USA jersey
yeah.
right now from Patrick Kane at the World Championships.
At 2019 when he was captain, I believe. Yeah.
So in the double IHF, if you get the game-winning goal in a shootout, you are credited with a goal.
Oh.
Do
Just
you
the
think-
game-winning one?
Just the game-winning goal in the shootout. If you get the game winner in the shootout, you are credited with a goal in international play. Do you think the NHL should adopt that?
Well, if they had Jonathan Tays' numbers would be insane.
I think either you do it for all shootout goals or you do it for none. I know it's a game where it means more, but I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
The keep shootout a separate stat. It's different.
Yeah, because what about the guy shooting first?
Yeah, like, I understand why just the guy gets the game winner.
Just as responsible for winning is the guy who scores last.
Not if he doesn't score.
No, but if he does, I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, I guess, but
if we're doing hypotheticals here,
but then we're just
hypothetically, why would you not give out a goal for anybody who scores in a shootout?
Then we're just giving out goals willy-nilly
here. Kane and Tays, yeah, you're right. Kane and Tays' stats would be even greater because those are two of the best in the shootout.
I think they are. I think they are.
They're
the
one
best.
and two. I think they're tied actually, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Look that, or somebody could look that up. I'm pretty sure they're tied at 52 goals in the shootout.
Yeah, you could look up most shootout goals in the NHL.
Yeah, I would also like to see. If we're doing shootout hypotheticals here, I would like them to see. I would like to see them adopt the IAHF, where after 3 shooters or after 5, you can use the same player. Yeah,
I was correct. Yeah, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Tays are first at shootout goals all time, both with 52. Kane's done at 131 shots, Tays on 110. So there you go. There. I mean, Kane always got a lot of props for his shootout skills, and fair enough. But Tays was really the guy. He was the king of just simple 1 or 2 moves. That's it. He was
he just went 5-hole every single time.
He loved that move, the forehand backhand.
And then somehow goaltenders were still just biting every single time.
That slow down move used to always work for Kane, but later his career goalies definitely picked up on it. But yeah,
I disagree with you though. I like how they can't just keep rolling out the same shooter after 3. I like that you start seeing defensemen once you're 8 deep. I think that's so much more fun.
Yeah, at the same time though, the double IHF has had some pretty cool moments where the same player scores 5 goals the same time he wins the game.
Yeah, but that's only cool. That's only cool because it doesn't happen in the NHL.
Yeah,
if it was also a thing in the NHL, nobody would care about TJ Oshie and Sochi.
So yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. I was gonna bring that up, but you brought it up for me.
All right,
beat you to the punch.
Yeah.
Let's move away from the shootout talk here on a Friday. But any other cleanup from the game? The only other thing I had, I don't know if you guys mentioned Philip Forsberg, third fastest Swedish player to 300 goals in his career
right?
too. Yeah.
Who are the 2 ahead of him? Forsberg, maybe. He had a lot of assists.
No. It is Thomas Sandstrom did it in 675 games, and Matt Sundin did it in 698. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. Tough to give up the late back. That's a backbreaker to give up the late goal.
Snipe late. Yeah. And it's a shame because
and it was off of a bad change. Too.
Yeah, it really was. Could Soda have stopped it? Maybe, but that was also just a howitzer, a bullet. Maybe he kept that game tied for longer, or ahead of it longer than it should have been. So I think you can kind of see if they're knocking on the door there late, right? We were just never really felt safe. We had to score another goal, get some Geico insurance, but that insurance never came. So I think that 1 goal lead. I don't know if you ever felt safe. I never felt safe.
No, I didn't. I didn't feel safe, especially the way we just turtled the entire third period and just invited them to attack us. The only line that was actually trying to play offense and score a goal was the Bedard, Nazar, Bertuzzi line. And they should have gotten one, but didn't. Woof. On the bright side, though, Frank Nazar will not be playing the AHL All-Star game. That's going to be Cole Gutman taking his place for him because Frank Nazar, especially after last night,
he asserted himself.
He
if there's
is
any
not
doubt.
Getting off this roster anytime
No, he's
soon.
not playing another game with the Ice Hawks in his career. I know he had no points last night, but I thought he was probably the Hawks' best player on the ice, maybe after Bedsy. He's knocking the door here, man. I think keep him and Bedard together. You're going to see that connection cook here. So that's good to see. I think we were both a little worried when we saw that he was named to that game that the Hawks might send him down, especially if he doesn't start producing. But I'm glad they didn't. I think it's a sign too that he's here to stay. Yeah.
Yeah. He was sick last night. I still I know I said it 8 times on the show last night, but just how aggressive he is without the puck and how he's gonna be so good defensively. He's gonna be a sick 2-way guy, and he's got a crazy speed and a ton of skill. So I think he's going to be a very good player for us for a long time.
I think playing him with Bedsy too, it's going to help Bedsy's defensive game because Frank could kind of take care of that for him, right? So he can kind of focus more on the O-zone responsibilities and stuff. So I think those two can kind of help each other out from that regard. So that'll be nice. Kind of share a brain out there. They play a similar style when you watch them. So
I also think when you're playing with a kid who's in a similar spot as you and similar age and similar skill sets, and you're seeing how aggressive and tenacious Nazar's being on the forecheck and stuff, I think that's going to also inspire Bedard. He's going to be I can do that. If this kid can do it, similar sizes. I would imagine he's going to be like, yeah, let me get in there. Let me start throwing the body around.
Nazar's not afraid to throw the body around. Even Betsy, I don't know if we watched the game. I was like, he was getting in it a little bit too, like with the puck battles, and he threw a couple checks for Betsy, different from, but still, like he was not afraid to get in those dirty areas. And things like you said, seeing Nazar do it. I mean, he has a similar frame, right? There's no reason he can't too. So I think just to help him become a better all around player as well. And unlock Frank too, right? Two guys of those capabilities and skill. It's like they're going to feed off of each other. And if you're a team that's players on the ice, like you got to worry about both of them out there, not just Betsy. So it's going to open up lanes for the both of them. Yeah.
We saw it. We didn't talk about this last night, but we saw a couple of shifts of Doc on that line with them. I want to see that more going forward. I want to see Doc, Nazar, and Bedard all on the same line. I think they complement each other really well. And the couple times they were out there together the past couple of games, I thought they looked really good. And just, I don't know, Bertuzzi, I know he had a pretty good game, had a couple assists, but he just squandered some opportunities in the third that just really pissed me off.
And Doc could kind of do everything that Bertuzzi does. Like he loves those net front areas, again, those physical grindy areas, when puck battles, stuff like that. So you could kind of put him in that spot and make it a true kid line up there. But
and I think
I kind of like Reichel of Doc though. Yeah.
I think Doc is a better puck retriever than Bertuzzi is. So
it's just funny because they say that, but like I don't know how many puck battles. I swear a lot of times that's an area that this team struggle with too. Is like I swear every 50-50 puck battle, like 75% of the time we don't come away with it, and that's going to affect obviously our puck possession, all that stuff too. So come away with more battles like that. Doc's good at that. We don't have a lot of other guys who can do that, so I think he could help from that standpoint as well. Yeah.
So I know, excuse me. I know we said we were done with shootout talk. We have a clip on Soderblom about the shootout. Could we hear that one just to bang it out? Oh, whoops.
I haven't seen them, but I felt like they were good moves. They slowed me down a little bit, so maybe I faded back a little bit, trying to stay up there a little bit more. But it was good moves. They slowed down, moved the puck sideways, and shot towards the hand. So it was good moves, but it's always stuff you can do different. So I'll take a look and see what I can improve.
Yeah, I don't know what you improve
bad.
on that one. Do they not do shootouts at the end of practice?
It feels like they can't. Like, how can you go for 9 if you're doing that regularly?
I mean, it doesn't hurt every now and then. Maybe like, I don't know, once a week, like last 5 minutes, just like a little go, like a simulation or something like that. I mean, I know they haven't been a lot of shootouts this season, but they do pop up occasionally. And not just that, just for breakaway practice too for these goalies, I'm sure. You only face about one a game at least, so I'm surprised they didn't work on that at least a little bit. Maybe not though. I don't know. We probably just don't have enough time with the more important stuff to work on.
That's so stupid though. It's like, and especially going forward when we're actually like trying to make the playoffs and compete for things. That's just because it doesn't happen very much, and like there's 3-on-3 overtimes now. That's such a bullshit excuse, because it's like, hey, even if it just happens 3 or 4 times in a season, that's 3 or 4 points that you're putting in jeopardy, and that could be the difference of making the playoffs or not making the playoffs.
Or you look at the Canucks right now; they got like 10 loser points right now.
Yeah, so it's like, no, that should definitely be you're professionals. You should be absolutely grinding, even if it just happens 3 or 4 times a season. That should still be something that you're putting emphasis on in practice.
And like for the Hawks, it's not like, we're not a playoff team, obviously, and shootouts obviously aren't a thing in the playoffs. So it's like there's no reason really shouldn't be practiced on them, because like we're going to be guaranteed to face those, moments in these games. But something to learn for the future.
Yeah. Do we want to hear Bertuzzi
just
so we can move away from Nashville?
Praise Frank Nazar on like his ability in the forecheck in the first line, I believe.
Good, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Pretty successful with Frankie up there. What did you see from
Yeah, Frankie was great tonight. He was really good on the forecheck, turning pucks over, and I think that's when we're at our best is, forechecking, creating turnovers, and getting some opportunities off of those.
He was such a pest last night, man. It was like
he made that line tick.
It was like even when like the announcers would like, there were a couple times where the announcers were like, he's had a really good game tonight on the forecheck, turning pucks over, and like right as they were saying that, he was stick lifting again and finding Bedsy. It happened like probably like 8 times, it felt like, last night. So
every time he was out there, pretty much, it seemed like.
I'm so excited to see him and Bedard more, and I know it's kind of a risk putting them out there together in overtime, but I loved seeing that.
I think if they just get one look, man, they could have. It's always if, but like, man, like when that puck bounced over plastic stick there, Bedard would have had a breakaway. Oh man, it's too bad we didn't get to see that. But yeah, I think those two keep them together because I think we got something brimming there. How about Bedsy, man? Not to keep glazing my boy, but I will keep glazing my boy. Points in 11 of his last 12 games, 90-point pace under Sorensen. Like he's been playing so well. I mean, when he's scoring goals and like getting points, playing the way he did last night, like it makes losses like that more tolerable than a game like other games where he's not producing. So I think that's a big part of why, like just this last month or so, yeah, it's been frustrating, but it's like seeing him cook, seeing the kids playing more. Like this is more enjoyable to me than these 3-1, 4-1 losses under Richardson. Even if there've been more games we've been blown out, it's like you're seeing the future produce. Not the unks, like playing the kids more. I think that's what y'all be about development the rest of the season, second half. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we ever do a CHR bingo thing, one of the boxes has to be Justin saying not to glaze my boy again.
There needs to be a CHR like drinking or bingo game or something, because I do tend to repeat the same type of like talking points like 5 times.
Not to glaze my boy anymore. Proceeds to glaze the hell out of his boy. No,
I saw a stat somewhere. Oh, now it's up about Roman cancer.
I'm pumped to see Nazar and Bedard playing more together, because hopefully we'll see an uptick in Frank Nazar's playing time, because I want him out there all the time. And last night was one of those where like in that third period I was like, can we just put this Bedard line out again, because I was so tired of watching the third and fourth line just hunker down and just
we
squeezing
saw them way too much late in that game when they were just hemmed in our zone the entire time. I think they could play Frank to take more. I was checking the box score. They played Betsy a ton, 24 minutes, but yet Nazar only played, like you said, only played 17 minutes. Like the way he was playing last night, he should have been playing 20 plus minutes like Betsy was. Why not? I mean, yeah, that's maybe one gripe I'd say I would have about that.
Yeah, and it's like Frank Nazar is better defensively than Bedard is. Like, why wouldn't you play him after last night? Hopefully we see a difference after last night, like how good he played. Hopefully, he
gets rewarded for it.
Tomorrow he gets rewarded, but yeah, it's like he's better than Bedard defensively. Like you should have him out there as much as possible.
Yeah, I guess if Bedsy's on the ice, he should be on the ice, right? Like that should be our 1-2 connection that we roll with the rest of the season. Let's build that chemistry now, right? These are the moments. This is the time to build that foundation, the chemistry right now. So by the time we're cooking again, it's already established, you know, because we're gonna have a lot of these new young guys coming on the team anyway. So for the ones that are up here at Bedard now, let's establish that camaraderie, that connection, right?
Think about it. 2 years from now, we have Bedard, Nazar, Kancerov.
Oh, dude, that would be something.
It's gonna be the best line ever.
We keep bringing up Roman Kancerov. I might as well talk about this now. A little fun Roman Kancerov story. So after the post-game show, by the way, I thought I'd come in here today since I'm here because, man, that audio was terrible on mine. It sounded like I was like underwater on the post-game last night. But anyway, after that, I did a little live stream by Boy Hawks Hub on Instagram. Another fellow Hawks memer kind of does what I do. When we were doing a live stream, and Roman Kancerov, who follows me, actually joined the chat and was in there chatting with a lot of my followers and stuff. A lot of my boys were gassing him up and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. It was before his practice too, and like when he left, he's like, thanks for the support, boys, gotta go to practice. But yeah, it sounds like he's pretty excited to be a Blackhawk. Obviously we have to wait a season for him, as we've mentioned on the show, but I mean, I don't think this guy would be in here watching Hawks, liking Hawks memes and like videos of himself if he wasn't excited to be a Blackhawk. So definitely something to be excited for. I know we've glazed him a lot in this show, but we should keep glazing him because the way he's producing there in the KHL, second hardest league in hockey, I mean, it's not a very easy thing for a 20-year-old. I don't think it's got enough attention. I see a lot of Demidov talk up there, not enough Roman Kancerov talk.
So to sort of put a bow on yesterday's game here, and this can be taken into a larger discussion about segment talk, 5-game segment talk.
1-3-1.
Yeah, 1-3-1 in this segment, and I don't know, but the next 5-game segment is
not looking too hot.
Rough.
These are the dog days of the season for these four nations here.
So I'll give you the next 5 games for the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Golden Knights, Hurricanes,
L
Lightning,
loss,
Wild,
loss,
and the Lightning again.
We'll get a win at Tampa Bay.
Who are we going to beat there?
I don't know.
That looks like an 0-5 segment. We just went 1-3-1.
No, but that's what we do. Watch us go 3-2. That's what we do. We look at this 5-game segment. We say we have no chance, and then they're going to do it, and we're going to be like, "How did that happen?"
Hawks,
and then we're going to play fucking San Jose and get stomped.
Hawks do tend to play better against the top 10, the best teams, right? And then the teams that should beat, like the Preds, they lay an egg. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Everything about this team makes sense.
Yeah, and then the 5 games after. I mean, not to look too ahead, but the 5-game segment after that, it's Hurricanes again, then Panthers, Oilers, and then you get the Preds and the Blues.
Is that before? That's all before the Four Nations too,
Yes,
right?
that is-
So there's still 10 games before that. Jeez.
Yeah.
So the next 8 games are basically all scheduled losses.
Yeah.
Boy, just survive this next
Good.
month. Basically, this team desperately needs that break, man.
Dude, we're going to start seeing Nazar Bedard, and it's going to be okay. We're going to see Nazar Bedard combined for 2 goals every single night, and it's going to all be okay.
Hawks lose, but Bedsy, Frank the Tank connection delivers.
Yeah, you need to make a couple of those templates.
Get them in the arsenal.
Yeah, because you're going to be using them a lot over the next couple weeks.
Oof.
I won't lie though, like people are starting to get sick of that. Not on your meme page side.
Oh,
of things,
they are actually.
but like on the show at least, like that's not. It's not a solace anymore that like Connor Bedard gets an assist or something, or 2 assists or a goal or something, and then they lose 5-2. Like it's not.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't even do it anymore. For me, it's got to be like a multi-point night for Bedsy for me to be like, oh well, at least.
You just said multi. He's had a lot of multi-point games. He actually hasn't had a multi-goal game yet this season, which is kind of shocking. I feel like that's coming. He's been scoring a lot more lately, but yeah, that's just something I noticed watching the game last night.
I think we're gonna see like a breakout game from Frank Nazar the next game or two. I could see him scoring like twice against Vegas.
He's due for some puck luck,
Dude,
man. He's
he
had no
should
good
have had a
karma.
hat trick. He should have had a hat trick last night. He had like 3 grade A opportunities. He had the breakaway. He had the shot where he was right in the slot, and it was a sick wrister.
Oh, yeah, I know
and then he had another one in the third that was like grade A opportunity. He could have had 3 last night. It's going to happen. He's going to start finding them. I could see it being soon with this Bedard line because I don't think teams are really going to prepare for it. But then once they start doing some damage, I think they're going to be like,
I think
all right,
like once he gets one,
we
like
got to do something about
the
this guy.
floodgates will open once he has one breakout game like that. I think, as you say, right, he'll just keep rolling it the rest of the season, hopefully. And can have a little hot streak going. I think it's going to help Bedsy's game too. I think they both help each other out. So yeah, that'll be the duo to watch the rest of the season for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you guys want to do a little bit of Seth Jones talk here?
Yeah, sure.
So Nick Kyprios actually had Seth Jones on his trade board, and he was just saying that the Blackhawks have this for, this $9.5 million contract for another 5 years, and that it's really something they should be looking to move off of. I think that take is still just a little out of touch with like what's actually going to happen with the Blackhawks. Like, we're not going to move on from Seth Jones now, regardless of how bad he plays for the rest of the season, because as we've said, like, we've got a few right-handed defensemen that are coming up, but they're not ready yet. And in the meantime, you're going to play Seth Jones. So I don't know. How do you feel about it? I would love to trade, at this point, I would love to trade Seth Jones, but it has to make sense. I don't think retaining half of his salary until 2030 is a good decision.
Yeah, maybe probably retain some. Sorry, about half. That's kind of 4.75. That's a bit much for 5 years there. I think the Seth Jones. I've said it. I think I said it before. I do think he will eventually. The Hawks will eventually move him, but I just don't know if right now is the time. I think this is probably like a year or two away when Levshinov's up here full time, Renzel, Korch as well. Like, and our decor is kind of set there, Vlasic. Then you could kind of afford to move on from him. I think right now it's kind of. It's kind of beneficial for the Hawks, even when he's not playing well, to kind of be up here and kind of let those guys just develop, take their time, right, not rush them. So you move on from him, all of a sudden it's like the decor. It's a big loss that they kind of have to fill there. I mean, say what you will about his play, like he still provides value for that aspect. So like Vlasic's got to step up, etc. So I think that's probably a year, a problem like a year or so down the road, maybe. Yeah.
So you mentioned Nick Kyprios' trade board, also Darren Dreger on Insider Trading segment on TSN. I'm going to read the quote that he said yesterday. This is the quote. I mean, that name is a surprise to me, but again, let's not play with semantics here. It's not like Kyle Davidson and the Chicago Blackhawks are shopping the defenseman. I mean, he's got a pile of years left at $9.5 million AAV. His contract doesn't expire until the 29-30 season, and he has a full no-move clause across the board. But look, he's a quality defenseman, and yes, teams are calling, and they're asking about Seth Jones' availability. So it's going to be something that we have to continue to watch as Kyle Davidson, again, puts some form of stamp in this fight through the rebuild of the Chicago Blackhawks. This article on Bleacher Nation talking about it, saying Would the Blackhawks have to retain money in the deal? More than likely, especially if they want to get quality assets. Reed, not a bad contract with term, back in a trade. And keep in mind that Jones does have the Bowman special, parentheses, full no move clause contract in his back pocket. I don't know. You have to find a way. There are ways and teams that will take the full 9.5. You cannot retain money for that long. You cannot.
Because it's no point. You might as well just keep the guy for a few more $1 million since the cap's going up anyway. It's like you don't gain anything for shipping him off, but then retaining half of that for the entire duration. Also, yeah, with the cap moving up, like I know Seth Jones has played objectively bad since coming back, and like I know that's true, but the reality is
still not killing us, much people say.
Yeah, like especially if the cap goes up to $100 million, and maybe it's over $100 million by the time we're in that that 7th, 8th year window. Like it's not, it won't be that bad.
Yeah, it looks bad now, but like it's not gonna be in the future. Like it really isn't that bad right now because like it's helping us get to the floor. Maybe that's more of an issue last season. Now I think we're not really. That's not as much of a problem for this year's team, but it is gonna be when we're offloading a lot of these guys on 1-year deals. And he was playing good. Like, it's easy to forget. Like he was playing good hockey for his injury. I mean, I'm sure he'll eventually snap out of this funk, but the fact that it's been almost a month now and he's still playing like this is a little alarming for sure.
Also, I know they play different positions, but you can't tell me that Connor Bedard's agent isn't looking at that Seth Jones contract and licking his chops, just like, oh, so you give that guy 9.5. What is he doing for you?
I don't think the Seth Jones contract has anything to do with it because Kyle Davidson didn't sign that contract. I think you're looking at more. If we're talking Bedard right now, you're talking more about like other players around the National Hockey League and what they're getting. It's less about Jones. And
regardless about it being Stan Bowman who signed him the contract and not KD, he's still the biggest contract on the team. Like
yes,
it's still either are you going above the biggest contract on the team, or are you going below it, or are you somewhere around like we saw what Detroit just did. Like they just signed Raymond and Seider to contracts that were like just around slightly below the Dylan Larkin contract. I think a lot of teams around the league are trying to do stuff like that.
I can't remember. The Rangers, when they traded Trouba, he had $8 million cap. Did they retain salary on that deal? No, they didn't. No. So, I mean, if they were able to do that for Trouba, you think the Hawks would be able to do that with Seth Jones? And Seth Jones, say what you will, I think he's a better defenseman than Jacob Trouba.
Well, yeah, but, Jones also has 5 more years of term where Trouba's a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true. Different situations, but it's possible. Anything's possible, right?
Yeah. My only thought about Jones and, like, hanging on to him versus, like I just am so paramount, like that you cannot retain salary on this and that you might as well hang on to him because look, even if you bring up Artie Levshinov, like you're going to have that guy under team control, and it's not like Levshinov, even if you hang on to both Levshinov, Korchinski, and let's say, another one of the young prospects become like Rinzel or something becomes a full-time NHLer, right? Like those 3, even in 5 years down the line, aren't even probably going to be making a combined $9.5 million. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, what's Kevin Korchinski getting on his next deal, right? Like, I would assume it's a bridge deal that is probably at a really low number. Levshinov is in the first year of his entry-level contract right now. He's got 2 more years after this, at which point at the end of the Levshinov entry level, you're at 3 years left on the Jones contract. You understand? And then you bridge Levshinov. It's not like already like I am high on Levshinov, but it's not like he's going to come in here and light the world on fire where you're going to need to give him the Seth Jones contract.
But what if Sam Rinzel does though?
He's not going to.
He could.
No, the season he's having over there.
I guess, but that's such a big jump.
I feel like a lot of these prospect guys are saying that Rinzel's like ready now.
Yeah, that could be true, but that's not saying that he's ready to be Quinn Hughes right now or, insert elite level NHL defenseman right now. Like, you're still probably looking at him like he's not a number one he's not a number one defenseman in the NHL right now. And he's probably not going to be next year either or the year after that. It's going to grow, or even, I'm not saying he can't be a first pair guy, but you're talking about somebody that's going to need time to grow into that role. Yeah. And you have the benefit of locking these guys up to bridge deals in order to, Because if Seth Jones is your third best defenseman, even if you're paying him like he's your first best defenseman, if you're able to like have a number one guy and a number two guy that are, making $3 million each, like there you go. You know what I'm saying? And then you bring in quality actual players to fill in the bottom pair roles.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
The ideal scenario is like Lepshinov, Korchinski, that's your 1 and 2 pair. Then Vlasic Ridzel is your 3-4. Nolan Allen, insert anybody else there in that
Seth
third
Jones.
pair. Then Seth Jones, then eventually you could move on from him right when those guys have established themselves. But we're not there yet. I think with Seth Jones, there'll be a time where this becomes a possibility, but I just don't think right now it makes a lot of sense. Especially like you said, if you are retaining that much salary, then it's like people complain about the contract and the money. It's like, well, you're still paying him half that for 5 years. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, moving him right now, like even if you don't have to retain, I don't think moving him right now is a smart decision.
No.
Well, if somebody's willing to give you a pick for him,
Depends what the return is. Yeah.
But that's I feel like what I read from Kyprios was that it would have to take the Blackhawks giving a pick.
Oh,
So the Hawks have to
Yeah.
offload assets.
Yeah,
in
we
order
would have
not
to
retain.
offload in order to not retain.
Okay. So I wouldn't really be getting much back here.
Think about it. Why would you sign Seth Jones right now to 5 years, $9.5 million?
if you were a team that was in desperate need of some help on the back end.
How many teams can afford that?
Who's in desperate
look
need of
that
Seth?
up right
But Seth Jones
Columbus
doesn't
Blue
really
Jackets?
help you at the back end.
Blue Jackets.
If you're the
send
Blue
them back there.
Jackets, seriously, like I don't know.
The Blue
like,
Jackets are good.
Yeah, they are good.
Yeah, they're like
Wanna-
22-17. Like this is the surprise team of the season, man. It's
Yeah.
it's unreal what they're doing. They're
But he
doing,
had his best seasons there alongside Zach Werenski, who's
They were a good deep
poised to
pair.
win the Norris this year.
Even like watching him in the World Championships this past year, like his game was so much better paired up with him. So I think that's been a big part of it. Besides Vlasic, he hasn't really had a defenseman with the Hawks like who he's really matched up well with. So I think his game would improve. Match up with somebody like that.
the Blue Jackets currently have $20 million in cap space.
Yeah, miss reunion on the cards, maybe. Yeah.
The Flames and the Ducks. The Flames have just under 17 million. The Ducks have about 16 and a half. And then, those are the three teams that you're looking at.
Okay.
Maybe he goes to Calgary.
Where they wouldn't have to retain. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I could see the Blue Jackets being interested. They're probably going to have to sign some of these guys that are lighting it up. Like,
Yeah, they are.
You know.
They're all in their early mid-20s.
It's kind of funny the game last night when it's like the Preds are doing like that little that ceremony thing before the game. It was like Shea Weber, Pecorine, David Poyle, and Preds cap, and then Seth Jones is just there like he was like the polar bear in Texas there. But I forgot he was drafted by the Predators. He played with them 3 years before he was with the Columbus. So I don't know if there's a reunion there at the Preds though. Probably more likely with the Blue Jackets. Yeah.
Place yourself in the shoes of fans of any of these teams that you're talking about, though. You would be very pissed if you found out your team traded for Seth Jones for $9.5 million for 5 years. Like, nobody, that would be a bad move, a bad PR move, if anything, for any team.
Some dinosaur GM.
You
will
would
fall
not be
for it.
happy. I'm not happy. I'm not
if
happy.
I were a Blue Jackets
Stan
fan,
Bowman
I'd
wanna help
probably
us
be
out?
happy.
Stop. No, you would not. You're out of touch with the
Stan
Blue
Bowman,
Jacket
take
fans.
take them off our hands. Well, their salary cap, they probably won't be able to. They probably have to retain, but Oilers could probably use another D-man there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe somebody have to leave. So yeah.
There's also some Reichel trade talk going around. Frank Saravalli was on CHSN yesterday. Here's the quote. Reichel's name started to percolate a little bit in league trade circles over the last couple of weeks. Remember the healthy scratches just to start 2025. 3 times in the last 5 games, I believe Reichel sat out as a healthy scratch. And look, he's been somebody that's been given a ton of opportunity. He's played in some prime positions in the lineup at times. He's had his ice time adjusted both up and down depending on how he's impacting games. And he's someone that obviously has the wheels and talent to make an impact, but we haven't seen that on a consistent enough basis. Yet, I think that leaves some teams wondering if there's something else that might be there. Nothing imminent on that front, but I do believe the Hawks started to receive some calls on Reichel's availability.
I want to push back a little bit on that. If you've been watching this season, he's not been given a ton of opportunity. He's been playing pretty much the entire season, 4 or 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes a game. If you look at last season, yeah, he did have a lot of runway in the top 6, didn't work out. But this season, he's been playing better hockey, and he hasn't really been rewarded for it. I mean, third line minutes the last few games, it's bumped up a little bit playing, Colton Dock, etc., Nazar at times, but I don't really think he's been given enough opportunity here. He should be playing top 6, second line minutes, but he hasn't really this entire season. I think outside of like a couple games stretch early in the year, that's it. Otherwise, he's been stapled to the 4th line, Pat Maroon and Craig Smith. So it's like I don't really know what you expect him to do in that role. He's a guy, unfortunately, it's like, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if the Hawks did move on from him and he flourished elsewhere just because it feels like he's never really he's never really fit here. Like we haven't really given him that runway. And it's a shame because I think he has a skill set, he has a talent to produce elsewhere. I just don't know if it's going to be here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he really fits in the long-term plans of us. It feels like we've already kind of made our decision with him. I hope I'm wrong about that. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I kind of feel the same way, which kind of stinks. I thought he had a good game last night. I feel like he's been looking better since he's been moved up into the lineup. He's got so many of the raw attributes that you need and want, but he hasn't been consistent for the club, and that's a problem. So I don't know. We'll see. I would love to keep him for the meantime. Like I don't think moving on. I think moving on from him now is still a little too early, just because like where we're at. It's not like we need to be winning right now, and he's like keeping us from doing that. So you might as well let the experiment roll for another year.
Yeah, because it was a 2-year bridge deal, right? So we'll keep him for next year, and hopefully actually give him more ice time. You know, like give him a runway at Bedsy here, see what he can do. If not, then there's nothing there. There's no production. Then maybe he needs to go elsewhere. But I don't think he's really been given enough opportunity playing top minutes here. You know, so.
Do you guys want to tee up a little bit of the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow?
Yeah, so actually I was wrong. I think I said that was an away game. It's not. It's at the UC. I think the Hawks have another homestand coming up here. So that helps the fact that it's weird though. I feel like these mom and dad trips used to be multiple road games. I guess it was just the one, unless they plan on going to this game as well. Maybe they do. I don't know. But yeah, Vegas tomorrow. I think they're third in the NHL, 61 points. Definitely in that President's Trophy race. Hopefully they can win it and let that curse affect them, because I want to see that team win the playoffs again. But yeah, I mean, it's a team I think that's performed better than people expected this year. A very deep roster, kind of proving people wrong yet again. That just keep that cycle going to be able to replace guys and keep their run going. So definitely gonna be one of the teams to look out for in the playoffs. As for the Hawks tomorrow, I think it's funny. It's one of those games where everything matches up against the Hawks, but the fact of the matter is the Hawks are a better team at home. They've lost 4 in a row here, and they're playing a top team. It will be a type of game the Hawks will randomly come out strong and win. I think if they played the way they do consistently against the Preds, get that Bedsy-Nazar connection rolling, like it's a game they could steal potentially. I'd be curious to see if they do a net. I mean, I think Soda had a good game, warrants another start, or do they go back to Peter? But I think I'll roll with Soda. I don't care what happened to the shootout. I think he deserves another game here, but we'll see what happens.
It's going to be the last game of a road trip for Vegas. They're in Nashville on Tuesday. They're playing Carolina tonight.
Oh, so back-to-back for them.
And then you're going to catch them on the second half of a back-to-back, which I think is an important point.
Yeah, that could help for the Hawks, and they got a day of rest here, so I'll probably practice or something, but maybe not. Definitely morning skate, but yeah, that could be good for them for sure. I think keep the same combos too. I think we had something rolling there, so I wouldn't change a thing if the lineup. Honestly, I'd keep the same and hope for a better result.
Yeah, I'm with you. Keep the lineup.
Yeah.
My thing about Vegas right now is like for a team that it feels like over the last few seasons has been perpetually injured. They're fully healthy right now.
That's a big help. Yeah.
You know, like Mark Stone is healthy. Tomas Hertl is healthy. You know, he was a little bit banged up when they acquired him. Jack Eichel's healthy. Ivan Barbashev is healthy. William Karlsson is healthy now too. I like the Golden Knights a lot.
Check it daily faceoff. There's really not a single person in their injury list over there. Yeah, I know. You're right. Yeah,
which is very un-VGK of them.
Yeah, this is probably about the time of year that somebody will mysteriously Mark Stone will suspiciously go on IR. I'm sure one of these days ahead of the trade deadline they'll bring in somebody else there. I'm sure
he's gonna have like a hairline fracture in his pinky, and then he's gonna show up in fucking June. And be like,
yeah, with that Dorofeyev, he had a hat trick the other night. He's been impressive
popping
season.
Off this season.
Yeah, no. And Hurdle's been a better fit this year as well. So, just you look at this lineup, man, it's just so deep. You got a little bit of everything here. And that D-core, too, has got to be one of the best in the league there. I mean, when you got Shea Theodore as your second pair, like that tells you how good it is. Even the third pair.
Yeah, Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud is your third pair.
That's got to be one of the better third pairs there. And Samsonov Hill's been a decent tandem as well. So, I mean, there's really not really a weakness here when I look at it. Eichel's this might be the best season of his career right now. He's having an insane season.
Yeah, we have some people. We have some not to we love everybody that listens to the show, but if you guys think Jack Eichel is coming here, you guys are
no. He's got a good situation there. I don't think he's leaving there anytime soon. No,
he is a part of that free agent class of 2026 that everybody's talking about. But
he'll resign there. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Sometimes people I think they think about their team like signing or trading for superstars, but it's like you got to think about it from the point of view is like, would the Blackhawks give up Connor Bedard? No. Are the Golden Knights just going to let Jack Eichel walk?
Well, the Buffalo Sabres did.
No.
Yeah, I think a lot of times they think
That
about
was that was a different situation.
like fans will look at our situation and what we need, but like they won't really take into account from their perspective, the player, like would they actually want to come here right now, that kind of
And
thing.
how'd that work out for the Buffalo Sabres?
Terribly.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen.
Jack Eichel currently has 54 points in 43 games.
Yeah.
That's got to be points per game wise. That's got to be a high for him.
Stone's well over a point per game too.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
actually been healthy all season for the most part. Yeah,
Jack Eichel's he's on pace for 102 points. His career high is 82.
such a good two-way player
Jeez.
too. He's got to be a top 10 player in the NHL right now, maybe even top 5.
I would top 5.
Top five.
That's being a little
Top 5 is
that's
crazy
glazing.
'cause
That's glazing. Yeah, Top
You
10.
also, when you talk, you got to think about top 5. It's like who are you taking out of the top 5?
top 10. Yeah, that was.
Mark Stone is also having a really nice season too. I should mention. Such a interesting player. He's he doesn't look like he should be a good hockey
He's
player.
like slow.
Yeah, he's slow, but
Just got that hockey IQ.
yeah, he's really good. Tyler
Makes plays.
Bertuzzi, and that's going to tee up a question we have. We're going to do
He's
questions
a really good Tyler Bertuzzi.
really
yeah, we got
elite
that.
Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, we have the Friday questions. We haven't got to them yet. Yeah.
We're actually gonna do Friday questions in the NHL portion of the show after we have Sean McMorrow on.
Can't wait to hear from him. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a fun interview. And should mention Shea Theodore is probably one of the most underrated D man in the NHL.
Team Bjork memes legend.
Did we do this? I feel like we might have done this on this show, but I can't remember. What the Anaheim Ducks decor would look like if they didn't we do this? I feel like we did. Maybe I'm having a deja vu moment.
Maybe you did on your show.
Maybe I did it on my show,
Yeah.
but what the Ducks would look like if they had hung on to some of these guys.
Yeah, they both have the same decor.
They gave the Vegas Golden Knights Shea Theodore to take on the contract of Clayton Stoner, I think it was.
One of the trades of all time.
And then they also gave up Brandon Montour and all these dudes, and you just look at it and they traded Hampus Lindholm to the Bruins and all that, and I don't know. But
Yeah, one thing I want to mention before we head to break here, we said keep the lines the same they have. The only change they made is Kurashev's in for Maroon on the fourth line. That's the only change. Otherwise, it's all the same. So we'll see if Phil the Thrill can finally get on track here this season.
yeah. Every time you say that, I always think of Phil Kessel.
Honestly, I don't mind that because Maroon's he was pretty terrible last night. So as bad as Kurashev's been, I actually don't mind that. Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta get him back in eventually. Yeah.
Also looks like Vegas will be starting Aiden Hill tonight against the Carolina
Samson off tomorrow?
Hurricanes. Yeah, so if you're looking for a reason to take the Hawks tomorrow, that's probably one of
Yeah,
them.
I'm not seeing anything about goalies for the Hawks. Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah, probably.
We'll find out tomorrow
Yeah,
at
we'll
the
see.
morning skate.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all right. If you're watching live, you still have time to send in questions because, we're going to get to them, like I said, in the later half of the show, towards the end of it, probably. So you still have time if you want to get your questions, and we've got a good handful of them here. But, if you have more, send them to us via Instagram DM or send them via Discord. We've got quite a few in the Discord today, including one just pointed right at me, which is pretty rude. Continue to follow us on Instagram. We're also close to 600 followers on Instagram. We would love to hit that today. I think we might be able to, but follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I didn't do any of this off the rip. We're pretty close to 400, I think, too.
Yeah,
on,
I think we're
on
at
the YouTube.
386 or something.
Yeah,
right
heck
now.
yeah. We're chugging along here, fellas. So make sure you subscribe, tell a friend about the show, leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Helps us out a lot, and I only keep saying it because you guys keep doing it. So don't stop, actually, please. I'd like to keep saying it and like to see the numbers going up. So, all right, Sean McMorrow on the other side of the break here. Keep it here on the NHL Hour. All right, it's the NHL Hour, Chicago Hockey Radio. Justin Lynch, Lee Grossman, Tassos Kirkos, joined by a very special guest, Sean the Sheriff McMorrow. How are you doing today, brother? Thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm doing amazing. I really, really appreciate coming on your show. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be on the show.
Hell yeah.
So to tell the audience the honest truth, you came on my show on Wednesday. I kind of teased it on Wednesday, but you came on my show on Wednesday. We totally fumbled the audio, and now we used it as a perfect excuse to get you on with us today. So yeah, really means a lot that you're willing to take the time. So we should mention the Sheriff has his own podcast, the Sheriff Podcast. Your most recent episode featured former NHLer Derek Roy on it. You've had guests like Eric Lindros on, Mike Camilleri, just some really, really cool people on with you. So yeah, just, want everybody go check out his show. It's really fun. Can I ask you one question about how you do your show?
Yo, absolutely. But before we do that though,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of you guys, and I want to see you. I can't see you right now. Could I see you guys? I'm such a big fan. I want to be able to see you.
Yeah. We tried to make it so you could see all of us in the frame.
No, I can't see anything. All I can see is the letter R.
So
Just the letter R I see. But that's okay. That's okay. We can move. We can continue. I'm just a big fan, guys. You can't blame me for wanting to see people I look up to, right?
We want to give you the chance to see us, and I believe you're on your phone. So if you just swipe, I believe to your right on your phone, it should show the entire view. Yeah. Oh, might have turned your view off, but now, okay, you're back.
Okay, here we go. Right on, guys.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go. We got it. Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right on.
Woo.
Okay,
Nice.
so
Right on. Okay, so fire away, man. Fire away.
So
Now that I
Sheriff-
can see my idols.
Man, gassing us up over there.
I do have a question about how you do your podcast because I think it's very unique. You do it a la Pat McAfee. You do it standing up. Where did that idea come from? And how, is that just the way it works for you? That's how you get the creative juices
That
flowing.
fires me up.
That's sick.
You know what, man? This is incredible because this is actually the first time I've ever been asked that question. I'm
There we
very
go.
excited. I'm very excited to answer. That's incredible. Okay, so the reason why I stand when I do my show, like Pat McAfee, is simply, gentlemen, because I'm just a very hyper individual and I just wouldn't be able to sit. That's simply the answer.
Okay.
I'm very hyper, very high strung. I'm always moving around. I like to do a little dance before to get the bad energy away before the show starts. I'm always looking in the back window because I'm lucky enough where I get to record from an incredible venue downtown, Bottom Line Sports Bar, which is actually located right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame in downtown Toronto.
Oh, sick.
And it's set up. Yeah, it's incredible, guys, and it's set up just like the Much Music building, where there's the show inside in the sports bar, but then it's right in front of the main window in the front of the bar where people can see it when they walk downtown Front Street. And so I'm always looking around. I got to stay standing, gentlemen. That's the only way I'd be able to do it.
Yeah, that's fine. We have a thing on this show. For some reason, I started saying early on in the show, like at the start of every show, I would say everybody up, everybody on their feet. And I don't think I've done a single show on my feet, even though I say it probably
We keep
every
saying it,
episode.
but we don't do it ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Maybe we should do an
Great,
episode
man.
all
Try
standing
it.
up.
I like that
Try
idea,
it one
actually.
time.
Yeah, get the blood flowing.
should try it.
energy. Yeah.
I think we have to do the next show. I think we have to do Monday's show on our feet.
Problem is we don't have any furniture to be able to stand up appropriately, because otherwise it would just be us standing up in front of this
And
coffee.
looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it'd be a
still
little
on
awkward.
my computer all the way down knee level.
Unless we get some desks like Raven over there. Yeah.
So we should mention, for those who may not be familiar with the Sheriff is one of the biggest, baddest man to ever lace them up in professional hockey. Tied for 4th all time in professional hockey fights, and as Lee dug up, the all-time.
You have the most fights. You have the world record for the most fights in a year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. Very, very proud of the feat. Very proud of the feat.
What year was that?
So that was the 2007-2008 season. It was my second year in the LNAH. I came in. Oh, here's a really cool twist. So I was playing for the Chicago Wolves, guys.
Oh.
I was playing for the Chicago Wolves. Now, the reason why you guys might not know that, it's not your fault. The reason why is because I didn't even get into the lineup, and it was almost Christmas time.
Oh my
I was on a
gosh.
PTO. Well, you know that the Wolves are like
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Tassos
so
used to
for
work
people
for the Wolves.
Oh yeah, so for the viewers and listeners that know about the American Hockey League but might not know, too much about specific teams, the Chicago Wolves are a powerhouse in the AHL. We used to call them the New York Yankees of the AHL. And the reason being is because of all the money that they got behind them. Obviously the All-State, is it still called the All-State Arena, boys?
It is still
it is,
called
yeah.
All-State
It
Arena.
is.
Yep.
Okay. The All-State Arena, one of the best rinks in the American Hockey League, incredible fan base. And maybe you guys can correct me, but I believe there was a year where the Chicago Wolves averaged more than the Blackhawks when the Blackhawks
Yep.
were
That sounds
in
like one
their
of those
rebuilding
2000s
stage.
years, yeah.
Yeah. So I played on this team that had, I mean, the AHL has a rule that you can only dress 5 veterans. A veteran would be someone that has 250 games or more in the league. And, our team that year with the Wolves had about 9 veterans. So there was 4 guys sitting in the stands that were making $100,000 that were just, that's just the Wolves just had it like that. So I was one of those guys. I wasn't under contract with Atlanta, so obviously I wasn't getting the first dibs, but I was happy to be there because it's the second highest level in the world, right?
Yep.
So I was there, but deep down, guys, I really wanted to play. I wanted to play, right? So I wasn't getting in the lineup. So that's when I decided, I think it was like early December, to make the switch to the NHL for tough guys over there in the LNH.
How about that 527 penalty minutes in 48 games that 07-08 season you referenced? That's something.
Yeah. So that was the year. Now that year, it was like a perfect, guys, like a lot of guys are like, a lot of people will ask me, how were you able to pull that off? How could that possibly happen? And all the components that needed to work out did work out. I was on a first place team. I had an incredible group of guys with me. I was very, very lucky with injuries. Like I remember in the beginning of the year, I hurt one of my fingers. I'd stretched a tendon, but I didn't miss any games, and I never got hurt that season. And because we were on the first place team, that record has a little bit of not an asterisk to it, but it's 62 at the end of the regular season, but then it was 86 by the end of the playoffs.
Okay.
And that 86 number is what's used for the world record for most fighting majors for one season. But because I was on that first place team, we made it all the way to game 7 of the finals, which we lost. But I had 20 playoff games, and in the LNAH, that means another 20 something fights, right?
So I'd imagine you were, especially that year, you were fighting literally every single game pretty much. Did you know every single night who you were going to go up against? Or was it kind of like,
Improv.
we'll see, whoever talks shit tonight, is getting it?
Well, see, and another great question, gentlemen. You guys are on fire. But so another thing that I like to explain about the league is it's a very different setup and mentality. And what I mean by that is that they have, first of all, to answer your question, yes, I knew exactly who I was going to fight. Now, they have a part of the game in the LNAH that is referred to as Le Show. Now, Le Show is a gentleman's agreement that when McMorrow comes on the ice, Brandon Sugden is going to be sent on the ice for his team, and we're going to and we're going to fight as a gentleman's agreement for Le Show. So now, when that happens, usually it will be about, at that time, it'd be 5 in a row. Now it'd be about 2 or 3 in a row, okay? That is Le Show. So now Le Show might happen to start the game. It might happen after the first goal, like a lot of the other pro leagues. When the fights happen, it's usually after that goal, try to get the momentum back. But it'll be Le Show. So it'll be like 2, 3, 4 fights in a row. It might be in the middle of the game. It might be at the end. But at some point, Le Show will happen. And once again, it's a gentleman's agreement that when the tough guys go out there, that they're going to give the fans Le Show.
So at that point in your career, you knew that, being the big, tough, physical fighting guy was a big part of your game and the way you were making money.
Yes.
On the way to that point, let's say that season, would you get nervous for like fights? Like, would there be certain guys that you knew you were going to fight that night and you'd be a little worried or be a little nervous? And if not, when did you stop getting nervous for fights?
Get jacked up for him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, just so you know, and I've heard, because I do podcasts now too, and I'm able to interview a lot of enforcers, tough guys. For myself, I got nervous and had anxiety before every fight.
Wow.
Even fights that I knew that I had the advantage with size and strength and experience, maybe that anxiety would be afraid to lose.
Yeah.
Because if for some reason you just don't have a good showing and you lose, man, we live in a day and age where everybody's got a cell phone. Every fight in hockey is always recorded. We had to think like just put yourself in the mindset of where you got to fight that night. Yes, you're getting paid. Yes, you're prepared. Yes, you're proud of what you're doing, but it's not the easiest job, right? So you know that you got to do it. You know that you got to do it. You know that you got to do it. You know that you're going to take your helmet off. In this league, that was automatic. Take your helmet off, go to center ice, hear the ding, 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 right?
Like a UFC
And then they love their blowhorns. In Quebec, they love their blowhorns. So as soon as the tough guys come out, it's right?
Jesus.
So you're going out there, like for me, I'd be matched up against guys like Morasti, Sugden, Joel Theriault, Alex Penner, guys like that, right? So you know who you're going to go. Let's say it's Morasti, John Nasty Morasti from Shoresy, the second gym.
No way.
Yeah.
So Johnny. So he was a legend in that league. So let's say, Johnny goes out there. We're the home team. Coach says, Sheriff, go. Me and Johnny automatically we're going to go, right? But I know in my mind, man, if Johnny puts me down in 5 minutes, that's going to be all over the internet. My family's going to see it. My girlfriend's going to see it. My buddies are going to see this. They all know I'm playing Johnny tonight. They're all waiting to see how I do. That's where the anxiety would come in, right? It's about trying to please everybody, represent your family. You got your name on your back. You don't want to get knocked out, hit your head on the ice, and have your name on your, you know what I mean? Like, so that's where the fear comes in. I think for a lot of us is that fear of failure, of letting people down, letting your team down. It's a big responsibility, gentlemen.
Damn.
So this is a Chicago Blackhawks show. So the following season, after that record-breaking year, you suited up for the Rockford Ice Hogs, in which you sort of experienced a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly. To start with the good, I mean, some of the players you played with,
there was
on
a lot
that
of good.
team, like some of the players you played with on that team, a lot of Stanley Cup rings in that room when all is said and done. Guys like Nick Jalmerson on the team, guys like Brian Bickle were on the team.
Crawford,
Corey Crawford and Anthony Emmy were, that's
Troy
all three.
Brower.
Was he on the team?
Yeah, Troy Brower. Yeah. Yep.
Jack Skilly.
Jack Skilly was there.
Klinkhammer,
Jake Dowell, Klinkhammer. Oh man, I there's more. Just give me some time, and I'll think of the more names.
What was that group like?
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely incredible group. But guys, even before we get there, because we're doing the little timeline, it wouldn't give hockey. It wouldn't give Hockey Talks justice if I didn't bring this point up. So now we just talked about this 86 fighting major season, right, in the LNAH. So there's a gentleman by the name of Carl Boucher, who's now the general manager of the team in Rivière-du-Loup. I believe he's still the GM there. So now Carl Boucher was just getting into player representation. So he gets his player representation, i.e. player agent card or whatever it is that they need to get. And he represents a couple guys in the league. So one of the guys was me. So now this guy was able to get me a National Hockey League NHL training camp with the Edmonton Oilers as an invite off of that 86 fight season in the LNAH. Okay, so before I was in Rockford, I was in Edmonton at training camp with all the big boys. And it was such an incredible experience. It was my third NHL camp. It was my first Canadian NHL camp. So that's a little something when you're Canadian, right? But now, man, it was so cool to get back into the swing of things. And that was the reason for me getting the call to go to Rockford, because now I was back in the system, the NHL system. And guys, that's why they say never ever burn your bridges, even if something doesn't work out for you. Because do you guys remember? I know that, and you know what, guys? Like, I know all these people that were involved a little bit in that scandal and stuff, and it was really unfortunate. A lot of really good people were working at that time. You know, we can throw fault in any direction we want, but at the end of the day, good people are good people. Some people make mistakes, and you can move on, right? Now, you guys all know Mr. McIsaac, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. McIsaac was like, I think he was like assistant GM in Chicago at the time. And I had gone to the Chicago Blackhawks training camp, which was my second camp after Buffalo, a couple years previous. Got cut, didn't make the team, right? But because I kept good relations, Mr. McIsaac remembered that. And when I got sent down from Edmonton to Springfield, Mr. McIsaac called me, said, Sean, where are you? I think I was actually in Charlotte at the time. I was about to start in the coast, man, in Charlotte Checkers.
Wow.
He's like, Sean, we need a guy in Rockford. We have a really, really skilled young group of guys. I was at their game last night. There was some rough stuff that happened. They really need an older veteran that can do the job. We want to bring you in. We're going to bring you right into Rockford. And Sean, if you prove yourself, an NHL contract on a two-way will be following your PTO with Rockford.
Wow.
So I jumped all over this opportunity, gentlemen, and got to play with this group of guys that we were just discussing. And I'll tell you what, it was like a rejuvenation of life being around guys like that. Guys like Jake Dowell were such good leaders. Guys like Tim Brent. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
He was the captain. He was the captain of that team. And man, was he ever a good leader. Crawford and Antti Niemi were our
those
goalies.
were the two goalies.
Okay.
Yeah, 20.
So I was on.
Not too
buddy,
bad.
our AHL team had two-star NHL goalies on it, right?
Yeah. Stanley Cup
Hjalmarsson.
champions.
Oh yeah, man. Hjalmarsson. We called him Jelly. Man, I think it was like his first year pro or first year playing in North America when I played with him. He was just a young, skinny kid, just learning how to navigate through life, man. And I couldn't believe the player that he developed into.
Yeah.
That was incredible stuff. Incredible scouting, incredible draft choices made up those Stanley Cup teams. And I was so honored to be a part of one of those groups that were pretty much like like other than Kane and Taze, they were like
Molding
the
all
main
those
part
guys.
of that
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, so I loved it. I loved it. Mark Bernard was our general manager in Rockford, and yeah, it was really cool, guys. Really great time.
Just to bounce back really quick, when you were with the Wolves and you didn't play any games, where were you staying? Do you remember where you stayed?
Okay, so man, okay, so now here's the other thing. It was the okay. So are you talking about like the hotel that they had the guys in at a training camp that the PTO guys would still be in, or do you mean like where I ended up moving?
Well, so you were you were on the
It was
Wolves.
the sleep in. Oh, sorry. I'm getting this mixed up with Rockford now. Okay, so sorry. Chicago Wolves. Okay, so the Chicago Wolves are so proper.
Yeah.
They're so proper with how they treat the players that even though I was on a PTO, they still gave me an apartment to live in. That was Versailles on the Lakes. That was the complex. That was what it was called, Versailles. Now, you got to remember, the Chicago Wolves are all based out by the airport where Allstate is, right? So I'm trying to remember like the name of the suburb, but I just can't. But Versailles on the Lakes,
It's like
that's where they
Rosemont area.
that's where they had me living. It was an incredible 1-bedroom apartment. I was living on my own at the time. I had my own vehicle. It was great. I was making the most money that I'd ever made in the AHL with Chicago. Plus because I was on a PTO, I guess the rules is if they're going to put you in a place that you don't have to pay for it because you're still on a PTO, right? Because technically you're supposed to be in the hotel still. So not only was I getting my place for free, but I was getting the most money I ever made, and I got to practice and stuff with and warm up a few times with some really good players. I just never got in the lineup, so I had to make the change.
That's so funny. I want to ask you about like more LNAH stuff, and also like, also playing in like Belfast.
Oh yeah.
But
Before.
I was gonna say it before. Do you have a before question?
I have a before.
Okay, you can ask your before question.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that I think a lot of people I did tee up that we were going to ask you about this, but this is a Rockford.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a Rockford question. So then we can wrap on this and then end the talk on this scumbag. But Bill Peters was the head coach there in Rockford. Akim Aliu, I think, played 2 games with you guys that season, and then next season, the following season, I know was when he had his particular troubles with Bill Peters, and then that finally came to a head in 2019 when he was let go by the Flames. Akim came out and made his feelings public. There was another incident with the player Michael Jordan on the Carolina Hurricanes as well. I wanted you to like maybe shed a little light on what it was like in that locker room, with that guy, and if you ever had any experiences like that, or just had any troubles or issues, or if you you knew what Akim was saying before even he really knew it.
Yeah. So and thanks for asking, because the one thing, guys, that we have to realize is even when like non-encouraging talking points come up like this one, it's very important to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
To be able to discuss, what have we learned from situation like this, and how can we make the game better moving forward? Okay, so that's what's important. So this isn't like, and I know you guys are on the same page as me. This isn't about making anybody look bad or trying to or being spiteful or anything like that. It's just about talking it out, and like I said, trying to grow our game and trying to move it in the right direction moving forward. So I played for the Rockford Ice Hogs the entire season before the year that Akim had his issues with Mr. Peters. Okay, like you just mentioned, Akim did play a couple games for us the year that I was there. So that was a situation where, as a lot of hockey people know, when there's a top prospect that's like a first or second rounder and they're still in junior, a lot of the times the NHL team will get them to come play a couple games for the AHL team just to give them a little taste of what it's like, get them a pro experience, so on and so forth. So now Akim came in and, he was like, he would have been 19 years old, not even 20 yet, before his first year pro. And he came in with the first rounder, and, they both played a couple games, whatever. And, it was cool to see Akim, and, we're both from Toronto, and that was that. So now when Akim came out with the story, I was obviously, it caught my eye right away. It was like a personal experience for me. So I played close attention to it. Everything that Akim said and all the claims that he made, I can confirm are true. I could also tell you that the time that Akim was on Rockford was a lot shorter than the time that Sean McMorrow was on Rockford. And Akim ended up going down to the East Coast Hockey League or whatever level it was after Rockford because of the whole thing with the Peters and how he felt and where his mind was and how he didn't feel comfortable coming into the rink anymore with a coach like that, so on and so forth. Ended up going down, and his career continued. Where with me, I was there the entire year. Everything that Akim claimed happened to me the previous year.
Jesus.
With the statements about, turn that end music off, this, that, the other. Jesus. I always felt that Peters was one of the technically best coaches. Like, technically, the guy's a good coach, man. Like, obviously he got to the NHL. Obviously, this is a guy from northern Alberta or wherever he's from, went down to San Antonio, started a hockey program there like 25, 30 years ago. And I think he's probably responsible for growing hockey in that region. And I mean, the guy got so good at it that he just kept climbing the ranks, finding himself at the AHL level. And that's wonderful. That was a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to be able to accomplish something like that. But that's the professional side. Now, the personal side, I always felt that he never really treated me fairly. I always felt that I wasn't in a position as a guy that, wasn't under NHL contract. There's a little bit of like politics to do with the pro teams where, guys that get called up and the younger guys, they don't really get the same kind of say, even if it's not a hockey situation. If it's something else, they might not get as much of a say as a guy that's, part of the system and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of how it works. Like when you're at the second level, right? Like all the guys that are supposed to be at that first level, they get all the attention first, and then it kind of is a domino effect. So I just felt that, maybe my position on the team, me kind of being a fourth liner on the bubble, that I wasn't really in a position to be, complaining about my AHL coach when I'm one step away from playing in the National Hockey League. I'm one injury away as being the tough guy from playing in the National Hockey League. I think David Kochi, who I absolutely love, Big Coach, he was the guy that was in Chicago that year, and then I was in Rockford, right? So, I mean, he never like directly attacked me racially, but he did indirectly, talk towards me when certain type of rap music might have been on in the dressing room. He did use that vulgar language that we discussed before. I was a top 5 heavyweight in the AHL, and I only got into about half of the games. I think it was maybe about a quarter of the games, to be honest. I pretty much fought every single game, and that's how I was able to get a somewhat respectable, PIM number. I think I had like 130 PIMs or whatever it was in like 25 games or whatever it was.
25, I'm checking now.
Okay,
yeah.
so there you go. So the only way to be able to do that is to literally be fighting every game, and so maybe it seemed like I played more games than I really did just because my name was on the game sheet every time I played, right? So it's like a forward that gets a point every other game. You know what I mean? But like, so, I mean, in essence, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that people's personalities sometimes don't match up with professionalism and so on and so forth. But I can tell you one thing. I know that Mr. Peters definitely learned a really big life lesson.
no
And I'm sure even if he still has the beliefs that he has deep down, I'm sure that he's not displaying that in public and out loud like how he was before. Because I'll tell you what, he had no shame whatsoever talking that way, right? So I don't know if it's arrogance or whatever it is, or the old boys club type of mentality. But the reality is that when Akeem came out and told this story, I was at a time in my life where I wasn't really ready to talk about things like that. I had some other stuff going on in my life that was more important to me at the time. And I remember getting a couple of calls. My sister works for CBC. Shout out to Catherine McMorrow. She's a big shot at CBC now, senior producer, and president of the union there. And she had a couple of colleagues contact me because CBC wanted to talk to me. They knew that I played the season before, Akeem was making these claims, right? And I can honestly tell you guys, I just wasn't ready to talk about it. And I turned down all the interviews. And I'll tell you what, if I was ready to talk about it, I would have been a lot more legitimate person to talk to about it than Akeem. I can tell you that. Like he's basing his experience on what, a couple months. I was there all year, the year before. So I mean, I'm not trying to downplay what Akeem is saying. Everything he said was true. I was there and heard Peter say certain things and whatnot, and I saw the way that he treated me. So everything he's saying is true. My case would have been a lot stronger. But I think it's funny that, I shouldn't use the word funny. It's interesting that out of a negative situation, you could actually get a lot of positives out of, because since then, I mean, Akeem has pretty much founded an incredible organization that gets kids the opportunity to play hockey that normally wouldn't have that type of opportunity in the HDA, which is very similar to a program called Seaside that I had the opportunity to be a part of in Toronto, which is another beginners program, gets free equipment to the kids and gives them an opportunity to not have to pay registration if their family's not in a position to do so. And I actually had a nephew, Mr. Riley McMorrow, that was the most improved player on the Seaside Hockey Association last year. So I'm very proud of things that good things that could come out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, I feel like the barriers to entry to playing hockey and how accessible it is, do you think that's like the NHL has like the the hockey is for everyone slogan and all that, but I feel like it's just not accessible for so many people. And I never even played hockey.
Well, the price is a big problem.
But
man.
it's just like, it seems like way too expensive. Is there any way like Canada and the United States can, or some of these like hockey companies can do something to make it more accessible to everyone?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, brother? You're absolutely right. It isn't accessible to a lot of people. It's way out of a lot of families, like ballparks for their of their budgets and stuff like that. But one answer to your question is, and like I know you guys are from Chicago, so these are programs that are in Toronto. I wouldn't really expect you guys to be aware of them, especially because they're very new. But just so you guys know, and your viewers and listeners, there is programs right now in Toronto, the HDA, Seaside Hockey Association, as well as Anthony Stewart's Hockey Equality.
Yep.
Now, these programs are designed, get grants from the Canadian government, and are designed to get kids free equipment and free registration. And I'll tell you, I was part of Seaside from their second year, from the beginning all the way to the end, and I saw Equipment Day. My nephew was a part of it. They come in, I don't know how it works behind the scenes, but I know that there's a grant from the government. I guess that money, CCM and Bauer, I saw a lot of. So I think that there might be a part of the program as well. But all the equipment is there on Equipment Day. It is like the ultimate Christmas for a hockey player. Mm-hmm. These kids had no idea who they were, man. They're just trying on stuff. Oh, that's what's too small, too big. They appreciate it, but they have no idea. I remember thinking, man, I couldn't even imagine having a brand new pair of skates, brand new shin pads, brand new helmet, even a brand new neck guard, everything from head to toe. They were trying on, getting fitted, including skates, gentlemen. Right? So now, if you're from a family that is, like middle to lower class in those kind of judgments, and you're not able to afford $400 or $500 skates, like, are you kidding me? Like, three insane. Kids all having $400 skates, like how is a parent going to afford that when they're living paycheck to paycheck, right? So now, let's say they are now, because of these programs, and they have the equipment. So now you got all these kids that are slipping and sliding in week 1. And then week 3 and 4 come around, and you see the smiles on their faces. They're doing crossovers. They're wheeling around. They're all like little NHLers after the first month, because kids get so excited when they have an equal opportunity and it's right in front of them, and it's a new thing, and it's excitement, and there's nothing else that's more positive for somebody that age. So they excel so quickly. And man, did I ever see a lot of Chris and Anthony Stewarts and Wayne Simmons just wheeling around that would, in any other case, they would never have had that opportunity to play, right?
Yeah. Chicago needs something like that.
Yeah. 100%.
Chicago would really benefit. They would really benefit that city from that.
You should.
Yeah. Right on, guys. Great questions, though, gentlemen.
Got to make hockey more of an inner city sport versus a suburban sport.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's just these suburban white kids that get to play, and it's like it would be better for everyone if everyone gets the opportunity to play the game. It's like the quality of play would get so much higher.
It would get really high. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that, like, I don't know. I feel like I always hear people in hockey saying, like, oh, you want the hockey culture to progress and, like, move forward. Well, you need to allow everybody to have a chance to play the game if you want to actually do that, and not just make it for people whose parents make at least $100,000 a year. You know,
It's a lot of talk, not a whole
There
lot
is-
of action. Yeah.
There is the exception, gentlemen, but in general, hockey still is an elitist sport,
yeah,
with the odd exception. If you go down the rosters of any top level AAA hockey team, if you go down those rosters, 90% of those families are going to be very, very well off.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the reality, because that's what it takes to pay for the parents are doing one-on-one privates. Now all the kids are doing off-ice training. And that's not even the $15,000 registration that you need to pay for the Don Mills Flyers, the team that I grew up playing for. Your mom and dad have to have $1,000 for registration for the Don Mills Flyers right now.
It's insanity.
And oh, you got 2 kids? Oh, well, I guess you got to come up with 30,000.
Yeah, you're paying college tuition for your kids to play,
How are you
play
right?
sports.
Lifetime
Yeah.
cost is ridiculous, man.
So big shout out to Seaside HDA Hockey Equality for giving kids the opportunity to play that in most circumstances would not have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Sure, ditto.
All right. What else you got? Any other fun ones?
Yeah. So do we want to
Talk about the Ireland experience.
Yeah. So what was it like going to Belfast and playing in Ireland? Like, was the atmosphere? I heard you talk about it a little bit, I think, on your Chicklets interview. But just like, I'm a big soccer fan, so I know how crazy people in the UK get for sports.
Oh yeah.
What was that like when they got to see somebody go out there on the ice and fight people?
Well, let me tell you this. First off, the Belfast Giants season was my favorite season of my whole career.
I imagine.
And just to give the viewers and listeners an idea, a lot of people don't even realize that Northern Ireland is its own country.
Yeah.
Right? So Northern Ireland is the northern tip of the island, of the Republic, and it's the same status as Scotland and Wales. So it's part of Great Britain, right? It's not part of the Republic of Ireland. It's part of the UK, okay? Yeah. So now Belfast is the capital of Northern Ireland. So now, for anybody that knows the history, there still is an ongoing, what they would call war.
They don't get along.
Between the Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland. It's a historical, religious reasons, okay? It's been going on for a long time. The height of the Troubles were in the 60s and 70s. There's been peace agreements. There's been people come together, and there's been a lot of progress. But the reality is that the neighborhoods are still kind of opposing each other. So now, if you have an opportunity where you have a new sport, where ice hockey was brand new to this area about 15, 20 years ago, okay? I was there 15 years ago. It was brand new about 20 to 25 years ago. The British government had an opportunity to having a new professional sport where they could choose neutral colors. They could have, I don't even have it behind me, but they could have an emblem called Finn McCool, who the novelty was, he was a giant that went from the big rock to the other big rock and would walk across the Irish Sea and protect Ireland from Scotland giants, right? Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Celtics or Rangers, nothing to do with any opposing side to be able to divide. When you come to a Belfast Giants game, you cannot wear anything except for a Belfast Giants jersey or regular civilian clothes. You cannot come in there with a soccer jersey on. You cannot come in with anything, any type of weird colors that may cause conflict. There's no national anthem at the Odyssey Arena. They're very careful. But the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because the year that I played for these guys right here with the Rockford Ice Hogs was the year that I won my 3rd AHL Man of the Year award, which I'm so proud of, guys, because I believe in what it does so much. I believe that the word volunteer should really be changed to opportunity, because that's all I got, meeting incredible people, having incredible times. Now, the Belfast Giants were looking for a player that they wanted as a hard man. That's what they call the tough guys in the UK, right? They wanted a hard man, and they wanted a guy that would be willing to do all the off-ice promotional and charitable events, which
Sounds
the
like the
British
sheriff.
government does a lot. The British government uses the Belfast Giants a lot to do these community events to bring the communities together. You got a Protestant and a Catholic sitting right beside each other in the Odyssey Arena. They're cheering on their Belfast Giants. They're giving each other high fives.
That's
They're
crazy.
having a pint together. So if you can do all that during a Belfast Giants game, why wouldn't you be able to get along when you go into the city center, right? So that was the whole idea behind it, to bring the communities together. I went in there with the responsibility of doing every off-ice event, representing my team for toughness, but also being the face of the team in the community. And I'll tell you one thing, gentlemen, I said, yes, I will. And I embraced it like I couldn't embrace anything else better. I absolutely loved it. I did them all. I was able to get experience where I talked in front of huge amounts of people, got really uncomfortable in front of the camera. And to be honest, gentlemen, that's probably the year that really inspired me to do my podcast, to have TV broadcasting aspirations. There's so much that comes out of it. And that's why I always tell the young guys, when you see that piece of paper on the wall to sign up for a promo, you better sign up. And guys like Daniel Amesbury, who plays in Kansas City in the Coast, he's doing every appearance. And when I see that, I say, darn it, boy, Ames, you figured it out, man. And I hope that other players can figure it out too.
You scored a couple goals that year. What was the crowd reaction there when you'd fight or you scored? Like, was it crazier than anything in the AHL or?
Absolutely. Okay, so for the viewers and listeners, like, I know you guys got to watch your mics and stuff. I don't want you guys to get hurt, but the viewers and listeners, I need you guys to close your eyes, and I need you guys to imagine a sports fan base that's able to be in a pub in Ireland before a hockey game. They're in the pub, they're celebrating, they're singing their songs, they're all happy, and then they walk down the hall, because the pubs are in the rink. Walk down the hall to the ticket gate. Give me my ticket. I want to see McMorrow knock Voss out tonight. They get their ticket. They get to sit down. They get their next pint. They're cheering. They're loving it. They don't even understand half the rules, but they want their Giants to win. And that is what happens every home game at the Odyssey Arena. It is so explosive. It is so incredible. Bagpipes are playing. And it's like, I got so fired up because, guys, it may not look it, but I'm actually half Irish, right? I mean, I was blessed having a 6'6" Trinidadian father and a 6 foot Irish mother. So McMorrow is actually my mother's side last name, and I was even able to get an ancestry visa. You know, I could have stayed there and worked at McDonald's if I wanted to, right? Like I probably, if I could, I probably would have stayed there. Like, I had such a good time, guys. Like, I can't even tell you guys how awesome it was.
What a trip.
All right. I'll ask one more. So yourself, Don Cherry, and two netminders, David Ayers and Scott Foster, Chicago Blackhawks legend.
Blackhawks legend, yeah.
All have one thing in common. Do you know what that thing is?
Oh, you got to tell me. The suspense is killing me.
You all played exactly one game in the National Hockey League. One of 420 players who have played one National Hockey League game.
420.
Is that what it is? It's 420?
That was what I was able to find. Guys
okay,
who've
right
played
on.
One game and one game only.
Yes.
You did tell me the Ty Domi story on the show that never was.
Yeah.
But, you know, just what is it like, you know, when you get the call up and, you know, it's something that you've been working so hard your whole life for, and, you know, you're like, man, I'm going to play a National Hockey League game.
Yes, absolutely. And your description of that was absolutely incredible. So please allow me to add to it. Now, for me, it was a little bit unique, guys, because, you know, I was playing for the affiliate of the Buffalo Sabres. So I'm in Rochester at the time. It's my first year pro. I'm only 20 years old. I'm leading the AHL in fighting majors. So I'm a little bit sore or whatever, 20-year-old taking on all these 30-year-old men, right? And the storyline was Toronto was in Buffalo, and Rob Ray was injured or suspended or something, wasn't playing. There was no tough guys in Buffalo's lineup. And what happened was Ty Domi in a scrum. Or sorry, I'm getting this mixed up. So Rob Ray was in the lineup. Ty Domi and those guys weren't. So Toronto had no tough guys. Buffalo's loaded. There's a scrum. Rob Ray pulls Nikolai Ponikarovsky, if you remember that name, pulls him out of the scrum and just feeds him, right? So Toronto was very upset, right? And this is early 2000s. So this is still when there was rivalries and you could actually say that you're going to kill that guy next game and it wouldn't be all over social media.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So a lot of that stuff was allowed. So now fast forward, Rob Ray gets traded to the Ottawa Senators. Buffalo, I guess, wasn't going to make the playoffs. They wanted Razor to have a chance for a cup run. Ottawa was good at that time, so they trade him to the Senators. So now Buffalo doesn't really have a main guy, but they're going into Toronto March 22nd, and this was like, the weeks leading up. So I'm leading the AHL in fights. I'm having a good season in the AHL. Buffalo just traded their tough guy to Ottawa. Now they got to go into Toronto. That's pissed at them because they took liberties the game previous.
Oh,
so
they need you.
Sean McMorrow gets the call, right?
Sure.
So they called me up. They called me up. And what was even more special was the fact that it was in Toronto, guys. And, I grew up in Toronto in the suburb of Scarborough. And, my typical Saturday night, like I call myself the Canadian kid from Scarborough. And the reason for that is my typical Saturday night would be to walk over to my grandfather's house, who lived about 5 minutes down the street, and watch Hockey Night in Canada with my grandfather and my great uncle Frank, and drink hot chocolate and have Raisin Bran toast. Okay. And I was so looking forward to that Raisin Bran toast that Saturday nights were so important to me because I got to watch the Leafs with my grandpa and Uncle Frank and have some hot chocolate and Raisin Bran toast. And that's how I grew up.
That's
so
awesome.
Just to know, So just to know that, my call up was against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada. Okay. So that was the stage for me. And so it made it that much more special.
Electric.
And you guys know that whenever there's a game that's been hyped up to be rough, it usually nothing happens, right? Yeah. So that was the situation. Domi was in the lineup. Shane Corson was in the lineup. They had a couple of guys there, but Toronto had a playoff spot. I think there was like maybe 8 or 10 games left in the season. Toronto had a spot. Buffalo didn't. Toronto wasn't looking for to start any fireworks or anything. So I did get to line up against Ty Domi. And, I said to Ty, I go, Ty, I've been watching you my whole life, man. Give me a shot, brother, please. And he just kind of looked at me. And Ty was known to be a little bit arrogant towards the other tough guys. Like I'm sure you guys have heard the stories of, guys asking him to fight, bothering him all game. And then he'd sign one of his sticks and throw it over and say, here, you keep wanting to talk to me. Here's a signed stick, kid. Like he would do stuff like that, right? Yeah. He was probably the most animated guy in NHL history. Just with his whole
Absolutely.
So he just looked over at me and he's just like, kid, you got to make the team from the beginning of the year if you want to fight a guy like me, man. You know what I mean? And I totally understood.
Big dogged. Yeah.
I would probably say that to a kid that got called up from the East Coast to the AHL. It was just, you know what I mean? Like I probably still would have fought him, but I would have probably chirped him like that or something. Like, you know what I mean? So I understood. So no fights that game. Got to play a couple preseason games against Toronto where I did get to fight. Also got to take a penalty shot in Toronto preseason against Eddie the Eagle.
No way. Legend
Belfour.
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
One more,
Absolutely.
and then we got to let him go.
Okay, so
sorry guys, I know I'm keeping you guys on at this point.
No,
No.
so interesting.
Your stories are amazing.
I wish I could ask you several
We
more
could talk
questions,
all day.
but so you obviously played a long time, a lot of pro games, so many fights, so many penalty minutes. This is a question I asked my dad because I told my dad you were coming on, and I was like, "What should I ask this guy for you?" And he wanted to know What was your training regimen like normal, or would you kind of do like more weights, and would you train like MMA and stuff, or were you just like, were you always, you know, passing around pucks, ripping wristers every day?
Great question, buddy. So, one of the cool things for me is I actually got to live and train with one of my best friends, Dan Sullivan, when he was mostly in the coast and would get called up to the American League. I was like an AHL level guy, and we would live together in the summers and we would train. So now he had a role similar to mine. He was a better player though, more skilled, and you know, but he was still expected to do the role like now and again. So so the guys like Ryan Reeves has asked this question often about the training. The guys that do the role, yes, we train a little bit different. We seem to do a little bit more bench press than hang cleans. We seem to be doing a little bit more, your bicep curls and the shoulder things because we gotta get in there. But most importantly is I started boxing. I started boxing the year that I got to the LNAH. And I'll tell you one thing, I wish I had started earlier. It is such an incredible training for any human being. The cardio that you gain, the endurance that you gain, the discipline that you gain.
So much discipline.
Right?
It's humbling too. Because I train Muay Thai, and it's like you'll go up against somebody that you think I'm so much bigger than this kid, I'm gonna beat your ass. And then you won't touch them,
No, because it's a sport and it's skill. It doesn't matter how tough you think you are. If you actually have the guts to step in that ring with a trained fighter, but I'd say a prayer for you. It doesn't matter if he's 100 pounds less.
Absolutely. Well, that was awesome.
Was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking your
we
time.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Well, thank you guys, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had a smile on my face this whole time. I just as good a time, if not better, than you guys did. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And do me a favor, send me this video as soon as possible, because I'm a big fan of you guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate
We'll be in touch. You'll get the link from us right away.
Thank you, guys. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Sheriff.
You guys are the best.
You're the man.
Incredible show you got.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
That was
What
so
a
much
beauty,
fun.
man.
What a treat.
That was really cool.
The stories he has.
The
man.
Sheriff Sean McMorrow, really fun, man. I wanted to ask him a few more things. I would love to know, as somebody who did that for a living. In the NHL, you have the NHLPA, right? And that sort of serves to protect the players. For guys in minor league hockey, it's called the PHPA. It's the Pro Hockey Players Association. We've lost a lot of guys recently. Guys who do that job for a living struggle with mental health after their careers. The effect that has on you. And, I am a constant advocate for we need to get these guys more assistance in their post-playing careers. Whether you played one game in the National Hockey League or none, or 500, or Ryan Reeves is probably going to play close to 1,000 games here. We got to do something to, and I would love to get his take on that as somebody that did that for a living. But that was really cool. That was fun.
Yeah, it's come a long way. I think there's still a lot of progress to be made there from that front for sure.
Yeah.
He just seems like one of those guys. We had the conversation about giving back to the game in the Gretzky's basement episode, but I mean that just seems like a guy throughout his whole career was he wasn't even in the NHL making millions of dollars. He was just he was always giving back to his community no matter where he was at. So he just seems like an awesome dude and a scary man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
We not want to mess with him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the sheriff will teach you a lesson.
I think he could take all four of us in this room without problem.
Oh, not even
The scariest,
right now.
the
Solely
scariest
too,
thing about him, I think, is that he seems like the nicest dude ever.
That's a lot of them are. A lot of them are really nice.
He's such a cool, chill guy,
Yeah.
but then could just rip your head off if he wanted to.
I've heard that it's you need to have those kind of polar opposites to just
the
live.
balance.
Yeah, just to make sure you're not living like that every single day.
Absolutely.
He takes all his aggression on the rink.
All right. All right, we gotta make this tight here. You want to do
Hawks
some
questions?
Let's do some questions. Can you pull the questions from the Discord, Raven? Just because my laptop is on the other end of the room that we had set up for the Zoom.
Boys.
Question.
Do you want to do the one that was targeted at you first?
Yeah, sure. That was the last one, I think, though. So we'll go back to front.
Well, the first one is a case on free agent tracker, so we will have to skip that one, sadly. But in the game 1 of 2026 Blackhawks season, who is on line 1 with Bedard, and how about line 2?
Kanserov and
2026? Okay.
So that's not next year, the year after.
Gotcha.
It wouldn't shock me if Kanserov was on his wing because that's the first series available. The points he's putting up there, production in the KHL. I mean, he might be a second line guy, but I wouldn't shock me if they put him right up there the first line right away. On the other wing, be nice if Mikko Rantanen was there, or Mitch Marner, or somebody like that. I don't know, that'd be pretty cool. One of those two, flip a coin. Nazar could still be on his wing. He's probably be the 2C at that rate. Moore probably be second line. That'd probably be my call.
How about Kanserov and Lardis, just straight goals?
Well, Lardis would make a lot of sense because he just gets a lot of those 1-Ts from the OV slide. He's a big goal scorer, right? So that would make sense with Bedsy to kind of put him in that line. He'd be able to find him and rack up a ton of goals there for sure.
All right. You guys ready for my answer?
No.
You sure?
No, I'm ready. I'm at
Patrick Kane.
What?
And Gavin McKenna.
Shut up, dude.
That's the dreamland. That's the dream. But,
that was
No, I think Gavin McKenna was a serious answer.
That answer was
Patrick
the
Kane wasn't.
embodiment of everything I hate about Hawks fandom.
just we're delusional, man. That's what we are. But as long as there's delusion, there's hope. I would love that, but I don't think so. Maybe Hagens or someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hagens and McKenna.
But he might be a 2C.
Yeah. So but I definitely think McKenna might be in the mix there.
No, he's not.
Okay, all right.
You think we're gonna be this bad next year?
Yes.
Okay.
Never say never. But I
Never
think,
say never.
Never say never. But in reality, I think we will be better, but not obviously not.
If we have the same season this year, next year, Kyle Davidson's gonna get fired. He will. He will
be hotter. 100%.
Dude. Blackhawks fans are losing their minds right now.
And it feels early now, but if you think they're pissed off now, imagine
wait
another
till
year.
12 months from now.
Oh my goodness!
I feel like there was a question about Gavin McKenna.
That
in
was
there.
the very next one. Was how do you guys feel about potentially going for Gavin McKenna? So we can skip that one now.
Yeah, I mean, I think
there's a good chance we get first overall this year.
Well, then you're out of it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's almost like if you do want to go for Gavin McKenna, it's like the best case scenario is get the pick number 2, which again I still think we could get. If it's a Sharks at the first pick, I think we could still get Hagens at 2, and then be in play for McKenna next year. We don't have to be a bottom tier team to at least have a chance at it. That's the thing. It's like I don't mind if we're still have a mathematical shot, but it's like if we're a bottom 3 last place team again this time last year, the rebuild, it's not going anywhere. It's not progressing because this team next year will be a lot younger. We'll be seeing a lot more of these prospects on the squad. Hopefully, a big acquisition there as well. So it's like if you're not progressing still, that's an issue.
Hagens, Bedard, McKenna would be gross though.
That would be disgusting. That would be
See, he's seen
that's the ideal trio there, but I don't know. I just want one of them. Give me one.
This question kind of ties in, but what would an ideal line for Bedard look like? Like, what kind of players / play style do you think would benefit him the most? Also, would you rather them try and sign a big fish to play with him, or see if you can get someone in-house to develop that role?
And I think you kind of do both there in terms of that second part of that question. I feel like we kind of teed up a little bit, but I think somebody like a Haas, like a Rantanen, like who's a dog, but he could also has the talent to kind of complement him. I think would be a perfect kind of winger for him to play with, or somebody in house like a Lardis, has a good shot. Always find those open lanes for him and be able to find him, rack up those apples. I think somebody like a better version of Bertuzzi too, like net front guy, like a Zach Hyman type, somebody like that, like a better version of that. I think would be ideal for him as well.
I would say, one really high skill player that he can bounce off of offensively, and then a guy that's really good 2 ways, good in the dirty areas, goes net front, retrieves pucks for you. One of each.
Yeah, like a Frank Nazar on steroids and a Colton Dock on steroids, something like that.
Yeah, for me it leans like, which way is Bedard gonna go? Like, is he going to lean more distributor or is he going to lean more shooter as his career progresses?
I think he's going to be more distributor. He said, Colby Armstrong did like a little 3-minute interview with him, and he said that he views himself more as like a playmaker, like pass first kind of guy.
I think right now he's kind of forced to be more of a playmaker because nobody else in the team would be scored if he wanted to dish the puck. But I think as he finds line mates that compliment him, like that'll kind of open up his shot game more, and you'll see him rack up more goals. But to your point, I do think he's always gonna have more apples than goals the majority of his career. I do think the goal scoring will eventually trend up, though. It's easy to forget, like he does have a shot that not many do. So I think eventually he's going to pay dividends. But I think just his vision, his game is more like a Patty Kane playmaker type, but the sniping will always be there.
Yeah, because, I know I've been on the Mitch Marner train here heavy, but if he's going to lean more distributor, then you're not going to go out and get another distributor like Marner, right? That's why I would say, if you lean more shooter, then, you're going to want a guy that can pass him the puck and get him open and find him in the sweet spots. Do we have anything else from Discord or no?
Yeah, we have what does the perfect offseason look like for the Hawks this year?
Yeah, I think, ideally James Higgins, Martone Misa in the draft. Don't even say the other guy's name. He doesn't exist. Big fish in offseason like we've talked about, whether it's Renton and Marner, whoever it ends up being. Get the coach, obviously, whether that's Carl, whoever that ends up being, some of experienced guy, nail the right coach down. That's the big three. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I'd say those are the three big issues to address there.
Got to make a trade.
Yeah, I'd say like Sullivan or Carl for coach. I'd say a big free agent acquisition or trade, and then
he's got to cook in the draft.
And then Schaefer and Martone in the draft.
Schaefer and Martone.
Yeah, that's right. You want your 2 top 5 picks stuff.
That's right. So to clarify, 2 top 5 picks.
Yeah, do what he tried to do in the last draft. Actually, make that work out this time.
This is funny, and I think people are starting to pick up on our blank talk, segment.
We do that a lot.
No, I love it.
We'll do more of that if we have that potential fourth bonus CHR episode thing next season, maybe.
True.
So y'all got to get that train, though. Support us, make that happen.
All right, so this is our last question. Not to do 2050 Hawks talk, parentheses, not to do blank talk is by far my favorite CHR running gag. But who from the Bedard era might be on the next quarter century team? Who will be the next Sharp, Sod, or ever known CHR enjoyer Brian Campbell? Even the Tays hosts a role. I don't think there is a clear favorite yet. Great question.
Wow. Oh, so outside, obviously Bedard, but who on this Hawks prospect pool could be the complements to that core? That's a tough one. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of could-be's in there, but not a lot of that's going to be the guy. I think Frank Nazar could be. Potentially, somebody like a Lev Krasinski could be, but we haven't really seen them yet.
I think Lev Shanov has to be.
He has to be. The Hawks organization put a lot of faith in him taking over a guy like Demidov. So I think to your point, he has to be. Krasinski maybe not. Vlasic could be.
I think Vlasic could be a second team. Yeah, he could be the second team.
Yeah, I think Vlasic is definitely in the mix there. He's locked up for 2030 and could be a first pair, second pair guy for us right when we're good again. So he could be in the mix there.
Roman Kanzarov.
There we go. Our boy, future CHR guest, hopefully. A big fan of his. I'd love to see that. Whoever we get in this draft, maybe potentially, you would hope would be in that mix. Whether that's Higgins, whoever it ends up being.
Sadly, I feel like the question is a bit too soon. It's a bit too soon to ask that question.
We're speculating right now. It's a lot of these prospects
realistically,
haven't
the
even played a
answer
game
is
yet.
probably going to be a couple guys that aren't on the team yet.
Yeah, whoever we sign in the offseason or trade for. It's the Haas type.
Or draft.
Yeah. So I think, those players probably aren't here yet. Some of them, those who are now, it's speculating. We haven't really seen enough NHL action to be able to make a justification there.
Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, I've seen his name out there a lot. Yeah, it could be. Could be.
Maybe.
I'd take him. I'd go for that. I'd go for him.
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? 2 games tonight, 15 tomorrow, 3 on Sunday.
NHL loves that, man. Those 2 games followed by 13 or 10 plus. Yeah.
At least they got it right though. Tomorrow, I think it was last Friday when we teed up the weekend. It was just a bunch of duds on Saturday, and there's actually a lot of really good games tomorrow. Toronto, Montreal is going to be really good. Boston, Ottawa is going to be really good. Dallas, Colorado is going to be really good. Tampa Bay and Detroit, those are 2 important points. You got Sid versus Ovi. Flames, Jets. I don't know. I'm kind of all over.
A lot of good matchups.
Avs Edmonton last night was a sick game. I pretty much watched the entire thing. The Avs went up 3-0 in the first period. McKinnon had this move on Bouchard that just made Bouchard quite literally look like a traffic cone. It was all Avs in the first, and then Edmonton came back and won 4-3. It was an absolute barn burner. Sick game.
Yeah, another sick game was the Wings Cats game. Man, the Red Wings, man, they bounced back after that winning streak ended against the Sharks. Beat the Panthers 5-2 pretty convincingly. Patty Kane had a beautiful snipe on the power play.
Goal and an assist for Patty
He keeps
Kane.
his run going the last month or so under McMorrow. Looks like vintage Kaner there. So good to see him cooking over there.
Just getting news here. The Edmonton Oilers have signed John Klingberg.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He hasn't played all year, right? So he must be cleared now?
Last played November 13th, 2023.
Oh, wow. And it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He was on the Maple Leafs. He played a few games, and then when they did their Global Series games over in Sweden, I guess the plane ride screwed him up, and he hasn't played since. So, yeah. I guess his hip was jacked, but yeah. John Klingberg to the Oil.
Well, I was just talking about how they could use another defenseman there and maybe teed up Seth. So I guess that's no longer happening. My delusion there has ended. But we'll just see how, it's a long time going without playing. But Klingberg, his prime was a pretty good defenseman. So, see what he looks like here. I imagine that's probably a third pair guy for them. But yeah, we'll see if he resembles his past self or not. But be curious to see how that works out.
How about Ovechkin freaking sniping one in
What is it,
overtime?
874 now? He's probably 20 goals away if I had to guess.
Yeah,
it sounds about right.
No, I think it's 21.
No, that was
20 the tie, 21 the break. Yeah, because I think Gretzky 894, right? So he could still do it this season. There's almost a little less than half the games left. It's not totally out of question. I think he could do it this year. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
He's playing his boy Sid tomorrow as you teed up there, so those two always show out against each other. So that's definitely must-watch hockey there for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Anything else, fellas? What else you got?
I don't know if I have.
I don't know if the games tonight tickle my fancy. The two. Now, the Hogs got 2 games coming up. I think they play Ice Hogs. They play tonight and tomorrow to get that Ice Hogs talk in there. Sean McMorrow, Ice Hogs legend. I enjoy talking with him.
True.
Yeah,
True.
for sure. So hopefully come away some dubs here. See Lepshinov's make some steps there. See how Kuzma looks his first couple games there for the Hogs after that Isaac Phillips trade. Yeah.
Dude, every time I hear his name, I think we're talking about the basketball player Kyle Kuzma.
There you go.
I'm like, why do we have Kyle Kuzma playing with Artem Levshinov in Rockford right
One
now?
of the blockbuster deals of all time that was. Yeah.
And then this was interesting out of Vancouver this morning. Rick Tocchet, after the Canucks' bad loss to the LA Kings last night, on JT Miller, quote, "He's struggling. The focus level has to get a little higher."
Jeez, dude.
A little nudge there, right? It should just seem like
It's such a negative place to play.
it seems like all but certain like one of those guys is gonna go. I mean, but it seems like every week it's like it shifts in terms of who it's gonna be. Like we've heard both Pettersson and Miller's names and rumors both of them have been connected to the Hawks at certain points too.
If you look at a lot of like trade boards, like a lot of people's trade boards, they like share the number 1 spot in a lot of trade boards.
Who do we think is more likely to go there? I think if the Canucks, a smart call would be to hang on to Pettersson and move Miller, but
Which means they're gonna hang on to Miller and move Patterson.
yeah, because everything that we say tends to be the opposite. So yeah.
All right. Anything else? What? Oh, the Canucks and the Oilers play each other tomorrow. That's the late game for Hockey Night in Canada tomorrow. So that should
very
be a good
fitting.
one. Yeah. No, that'll be a really good one. Honest.
That might be the
Dude,
game.
I'm kind of jacked for tomorrow. Like that's a
Good matchups here. Yeah.
That's a good lineup. A little original 6 Habs, New York Rangers on Sunday too.
Good weekend of hockey for sure.
Yeah, it is a really good weekend of hockey. A couple of PWHL games, if any of you are interested. NCAA hockey's in the back half of the season. I did an NCAA like second half storyline watch on my show yesterday. So if you're looking for some NCAA hockey talk, you could go.
Is that why you're repping the Nittany Lions today?
No, you know what? Like I got these hats at the Frozen Confines. I told you boys. I got U2 Michigan State hats. I got Sully and Raven Wisconsin hats, and I myself bought one for every single team that was participating in the event. And I don't know. This one's I think my favorite. I think this one's my favorite.
Totally unrelated, but I did hear you talk about on your show today about Malkin's rings were recovered in his house.
Oh my gosh!
What
I
is
know.
what is up with that? So did he just loot what?
He just misplaced them, and he was like, "Somebody broke into my house."
Maybe somebody moved.
Well, somebody might have broken into his house and just not taken the rings.
Not
Someone
finished the
broke
job.
into his house and misplaced his Stanley Cup ring.
I'm gonna start breaking into people's houses and move stuff around.
Yeah,
and
just
leave.
moving
Not
shit
take
around.
anything,
Somebody's
but
trolling
just
him.
move everything.
That's unreal.
That'd be funnier if like he tried to steal them and then he like left them behind on accident.
Yeah, that's how I would do, like. I would always lose shit as a kid. I still lose shit as an adult, but as a kid, and my mom would like grill me about it, and I feel like my response would be like somebody broke into the house and moved it and then left. It's like I feel like that shit happened to me as a kid. I swear.
You swear. Also, Tristan Jarry didn't get claimed on waivers by the Blackhawks.
Yeah, it's been claimed by anybody.
No, he's going to the baby pens.
That's the second time this season that's happened to him. So that just shows his play.
The first time was a conditioning stint.
No, first time was conditioning, yeah, but nobody wants him apparently. So yeah, Jerry Mouse got to get his game figured out there.
Yikes. Kyle Dubas struggling in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fair to say thus far the rain's not going too hot there. Not really been a good refresher for him.
Certainly not winning the Jim Gregory this year, that's for sure.
No, that's not. He's not in the running there. Yeah.
All right. Lee, your dad said in the chat, something tells me he spelled something. Your dad spelled something, Sumpin. Sumpin.
There we go.
Something tells me
He's
that
tapping.
the sheriff never lost many.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I wonder
I
what
don't
his
think he
career
did.
record is in fights. I imagine he probably won the majority of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the hockey fights does like the winners and losers of those fights, but like it's always like slanted towards like whoever the fans are, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those aren't always super.
Or like who lands on top of the other guy.
Yeah, it's so subjective, like judging who wins a lot of these fights. Yeah.
Somebody in chat too saying apparently Kuzmin and Levshinov were buddies in a Belarus training
right.
camp
Yeah.
team, so that's why they traded him to give him a little pal. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt, he said. So
Yeah, well, we speculate about that. The second I saw he was from Belarus, I'm like, there's got to be some sort of, like, that's not just a coincidence. There's got to be something there. So, yeah, I think I saw some from
Yeah,
Red Pulp basically confirming that.
It's not like it's a massive country with millions of players in the NHL.
Also, you brought up your dad, though. I do want to give, it was the Hawks dad trip. I want to give a shout out to all the dads of the Hawks, but especially Mr. Tom Bedard, a beauty. Thank you, Mr. Bedard.
Lee, what are we doing Monday? Are we going to the game or are we live streaming it? I'm kind of lazy. I think we should live stream it.
Yeah, I'm down to live stream it.
Okay, so live stream Monday against the Carolina Hurricanes. There you go.
And a post game show tomorrow after the game against the Golden Knights. We'll see how that one goes. That could go in a lot of directions.
Yeah, oh boy. All right, so post game tomorrow, show on Monday, live stream Monday now, post game after the fact on Monday, and I think me and Lee are going to be holding down the fort on all of those. We're going to give Justin the day off. So yeah, that's it. That's all. That's it from all of us. I don't know. Long episode for you guys today. So hopefully this will be able to get you through your weekend. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating and review, and tell a friend about the show. It really means a lot. If your dad's a Blackhawks fan, if your mom's a Blackhawks fan, you got college buddies,
Tell them. Tell your uncles.
Spread the word.
If you're at the United Center at the game tomorrow, just be telling
Preach the
random
gospel.
people. Yeah, just be telling random people about the show. All right.
Appreciate it.
See everybody tomorrow post game.